traveling in a freighter combi on a hippie trailhead full of zombies. I met a strange lady, she made me nervous. She took me in and gave me breakfast. She said, do you come from a land down under, where women glow and men thunder? Can you hear the thunder? Better run, better take cover. Buying bread from a man in Brussels. He was 6'4" and full of muscle.
It's been difficult to find all the materials in the nether. Oh, yeah. Long days, even longer nights. I think I might be on my wit's end. Oh yeah, and the debris I'm looking for my chance have disappeared like an eye offender. Oh, am I in danger of never being able to obtain the almighty blade? Oh no, another right sword slices through just anything. Oh, don't come close, cause it might take your life away.
Lord Bushkus, the sword is very powerful.
My netherite sword.
I don't want to see it.
Take your life away.
No!
One slice through your body.
What?
And you will never see the day.
Oh no!
It's fine, Tim. I was kidding.
Finally, after blowing up at all, I found some ancient debris. Yeah, you need to smell it when you get back home, and also grab the gold that you need. Yeah, and then you craft some netherite ingots you need to put on your diamond sword. Swing it.
Okay, here it comes.
Netherite sword slices through just anything. Oh, don't come close, cause it might take your life away. Oh, yeah. Even though I have not gotten over triumphs, I still look cool, and I can take a life away with my netherite sword, netherite sword, netherite sword.
Okay, look at this, Tim. I'm gonna do a 360 spin attack. Oh no! I lost it in lava. But Lord Bushkus, netherite stuff doesn't burn in lava.
Oh, I knew that. I was testing you.
Yeah, sure, Lord Bushkus, sure.
leading it to an enemy.
I gotta testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day I die, I'ma touch the sky. Back when they thought pink polos would hurt the rock. Before Cam got the shit to pop, the doors closed. I felt like bad boy street team. I couldn't work the locks. Now let's go. Take them back to the plan. Me and my mama hopped in that U-Haul van. Any pessimists, I ain't talk to them. Plus I ain't had no phone in my apartment. Let's take them back to the club. At least about an hour I stand online. I just wanted to dance. I went to Jacob an hour after I got my advance. I just wanted to shine. Jay favorite line, dog, in due time. Now ain't look at me like damn dog, you but I am. I gotta testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day I die, I'ma touch the sky. Gotta testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day I die, I'ma touch the sky. Now let's take them high. 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 Back in Gucci with the shit to rock. Back when Slick Rick got the shit to pop. I'd do anything to say I got it. Damn, them new loafers hurt my pocket. Before anybody wanted K-West beats, me and my girls split the buffet at KFC. Dog, I was having nervous breakdowns. Like, man, these niggas that much better than me. Baby, I'm going on an aeroplane. And I don't know if I'll be back again. Sure enough, I sent the plane tickets, but when she came, the kicky things became different. Any girl I cheated on, sheets and skeeted on. Couldn't keep it at home, thought I needed a knee along. I'm trying to right my wrongs, but it's funny them same wrongs help me write the song now. Yes, who's on third? Lupe still like Lupe in the third. Here like here till I'm bitter on the curb. Peach fuzz buzz, but bitter on the verge. Let's slow it down like we're on the serve. Bottle shaped body like Mrs. Butterworth. But before you say another word, I'm back on the block like I'm laying on the street. I'm trying to stop lying like I'm unrobbed, but I'm not lying when I'm laying on the beat. On guard, a touche, Lupe cool as the undog, but I still feel possessed as a gun charge. You come as correct as a porn star. And a fresh pair of steps in my best foreign car. So I represent the first. Now let me end my verse right where the horns are like. I gotta testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day you die, you gon' touch the sky. You gon' touch the sky, baby girl. Testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day you die, you gon' touch the sky. I gotta testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day you die, you gon' touch the sky. You gon' touch the sky, baby girl. Testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day you die, you gon' touch the sky. Sky high, I'm 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 sky high, sky high, I'm sky high.
Lord Boyskis.
Hello, welcome everybody. This is insanely loud in my ears, but I'm gonna trust the machine, because the machine tells me that I've got a good audio levels here, so I'm just gonna trust it. Welcome to the Fire Emblem tier list before we head into Fortune's Weave. Against all odds, I have to admit, when Fortune's Weave was first announced, I was a doubter, I was a non-believer, and against all odds, the game has really managed to convince me that I should be excited for it. I honestly cannot wait. So I figured we'd take this time to look into the past a little bit and, you know, talk about the games that we've had and the shitty game. What is it? What is the hold up, AVG and intro. Yeah, I'm good. I figured it's time for me to take you back to the past to play the shitty games that sucked ass. It's the Angry Fire Emblem Game nerd. Alright, let's get started. Let's get started with Fire Emblem 1, Dark Dragon and the Blade of Light. Okay, this is actually a little bit too... Hold up, let me just... There we go. Again, if it's too loud, let me know, because not all the audio levels are equal, but whatever. We have Dark Dragon and the Blade of Light here. FE1 is... It's an interesting game. I think it's actually kind of cool that they gave you access to FE1 through the translation that they did with the anniversary collection for it. I do have that anniversary collection. It's somewhere in storage, but I played through the game. What you need to understand about FE1 is that you are, like, no sane person is going to be sitting down and playing Fire Emblem 1 in 2026 because they genuinely think it's a good game. You're gonna sit there because you're like, this is kind of a novelty, I want to see what it's like, see where we came from, and play it. And if you accept that you're not here for, like, a really, or even mildly polished Fire Emblem experience, I think you're gonna walk out of the game feeling like you had a reasonably okay time. There is no even concept of balance here. The boosters are ridiculously powerful. Crossbows are, not crossbows, the ballisticians are genuinely dog shit. Most of the units are, like statted in such a strange way that it doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, units like Jagen don't really make any sense because you have, like, the big advantage that a unit like Jagen has in FE1 is weapon level, except, like, Sheeta also has an extremely good weapon level, so you just end up using Sheeta instead. It ends up being just kind of it's a little bit of a mad game. It's dreamed up by a deranged jester to torture you a little bit, but, you know, some people are into that, and I respect that. That being said, it's gonna have to go into one of these two tiers. I don't know which one. Let's put it in bad for now, and we'll give it upward mobility. We'll give it the chance for upward mobility. Imagine playing Fire Emblem without crit avoid. Listen. I get that that's frustrating, but also we have to be real here. This game has, like, so little. Like, there's no magic stat. Your magic stat is just whatever tomes you have. You just have to accept that. Now, Gaiden is, like, genuinely really bad. Like, there's one thing that Gaiden has going for it. It's that it may have the best OST on the NES, or the Famicom, as it's called in Nihon. The OST in Gaiden is shockingly good. It feels like it shouldn't be as good as it is. You'll play it and you'll sit down and you'll be like, wait, hold up. This is like a real set of songs I'm listening to, and they all fucking slap. Like, hold up. FE Gaiden OST. None of the early Fire Emblem games have a particularly large OST, but I mean, let me pause this and play some of this. Listen to this. This is a classic victory theme, you know, it's pretty decent. And then I'm just trying to go through it quickly. The fucking overworld music in this game is just unbelievable. You have this is that's a banger. And of course we have this one is a giga banger. This is probably the best song in the OST. Like, they make so much out of this fuck ass OST that really should be as good as it is. And this is also, you know, the introduction of Sacrificing the Same, Mila's Divine Protection. What does Twilight of the Gods sound like here? I forget. It's a banger. Like, I don't know what to tell you. If you care a lot about music, you will probably have a way better time playing this than FE1. That being said, the game fucking sucks. I'm trying to explain why this game is genuine diarrhea dog shit without being reductive. So I'll try to be a little bit nicer and say that it's strange. I don't hate it for trying new things. A lot of these early Fire Emblem games do try a ton of new things, and I respect them for that. But at some point, you have to accept that if you're throwing a bunch of darts at the wall, eventually you're gonna hit some duds in a row, and it's gonna end up souring the experience a little bit. Gaiden is one of those situations where Kaga hits a bunch of duds in a row. The way the gameplay works ends up kind of fucking him over. Like, if you look back at the FE1 map design, there's some dog shit maps in there, yeah, sure, but for the most part, it's reasonable. It's nothing super sophisticated like we would see in Engage and Fates, but it's not like you're gonna look at this and go, wow, this is the worst fucking map I've ever seen, and then the next map is the same way, and then the same on and on and on. The general game mechanics of reclassing the villagers, the way that you have spells that take HP, all that shit actually fucking owns. I love that. The overworld map where you can grind if you need to, I love that. The map design is terrible, and I don't know if you guys have ever played Gaiden. The EXP gain is so ass in this game. Like, oh my god. I don't know what, like, there's a like a easy mode, quote unquote, that you can do that just makes the EXP gain normal. But, like, Jesus Christ, boot up Gaiden right now, give Celica a kill, and she'll get like 3 XP. It's genuinely not good. I feel like the game really overstays its welcome. There's some cool stuff that this game has, admittedly, that even Echoes doesn't have. Like, map full range warp is a ton of fun always. The fact that this game, the accuracy in this game is shitty, and there's no like combat arts to fix it, but that's just part of in this game you kind of have to accept that that's part of the charm. What else was I going to talk about? The final dungeon in this game is actually pretty interesting. Unlike in Echoes where it's like a bunch, unlike in Echoes where you have to actually like walk through the dungeon or whatever. Oh, let me turn the fucking OST back on, gang. This game's final dungeon is like a bunch of tiny little maps where you just have Alm and you're fighting a bunch of these guys, and there's like terrain tiles every now and then. I think it's cool. It's not good. A game can be cool and not good, okay? Now, imagine if we took, I'm pitching you to this in Moneyball. We don't have FE1 anymore, but we can recreate FE1 in the aggregate. And when you recreate FE1 in the aggregate, like Brad Pitt does in Moneyball, that's when you get FE3. Holy fuck, this game is so much better than you would expect. This game has no business going as hard as it does. The sound font that the SNES affords it is pretty good. The UI is just as dog shit as the previous 2 games. Like, this is the last game where I'll be like, the UI is genuinely almost unusable. There's a lot of games that I have issues with the UIs of, but they're not like prohibitively bad in the way that FE3, FE1, and FE2 are. But the map design in FE1 just gets tightened up a bunch. There are some skipped maps, but a lot of the skipped maps are the maps that just kind of suck. Like we just have to accept that a lot of the maps in FE3 that get skipped, FE3 Book 1 that end up getting skipped kind of suck. FE3 Book 2 is a sick-ass romp through Arcanea, and you get the fucking orbs together. You go to the desert, you fight Harden, and it's like, psych, bitch, we're going to Henri's Way, and you go to Henri's Way and you beat up Medius again. It owns. It owns. I don't know what to tell you. It's, if you want to play a like an old ass Fire Emblem game, I think that this is one of the options to pick, because technically, I think modern Fire Emblem, it's like, I think at this point, Fire Emblem can safely be divided into 3 eras. You've got FE1 to FE5, which is Kaga. You've got mid Fire Emblem, which is FE6 all the way to FE12, and then Awakening onwards is modern Fire Emblem. This is, I think, the most compelling game. This is the game that feels the most like Kaga Fire Emblem, and it is interesting. I mean, stuff like weapon level as a stat that you can level up is just not a thing in Thracia, FE4. It's a thing in, where the fuck is, it's a thing in, the Tearing Saga, but I digress. This is the only game that shows you effective damage in the menu. I think 3 Houses actually does that. These are 3 Houses of Radiant Dawn. One of those games does that, I'm pretty sure. This game also has some really goofy shit. I love saying this because I think that not a lot of people know this. This game has a doubling threshold of 3, and it's the only game that has a doubling threshold of 3. Why? I got no goddamn idea, but that's what it is. Moving on, let's talk about Seisen no Keifu, Fire Emblem, Seisen no Keifu. Genealogy of the Holy War is... it's interesting. The UI of FE3 is goated. I think that it's satisfactory in the sense that it shows you the information that you need. The problem is that there's like the way that you, like, let me put it this way. The way that you move a unit in FE3 is you hover over them. The cursor is slow as shit, but whatever. You put your cursor over them, you press A, it shows their stat screen every single time you do this, which is really annoying. There's like a little bit of a delay, and then you start moving them. This is also back when top weight was a thing. Like, I just think that it's sluggish moving around the menus, genuinely. the actual visual design's not bad, but like the way you interface with it is fucking awful. Moving on to FE4. FE4 is such a fucking weird game. Even in the Kaga catalog, I feel like it stands out as a genuinely strange game. First of all, we need to tackle this whole FE4 has a great plot shit. I think the general plot line of, oh, it's like a Shakespearean tragedy where Sigurd and Deirdre get put into a greater plot that they don't really have any way of, like, recourse of dealing with, yada yada, and it's like a bunch of tragedy shit that happens as a result of it. That's fine. You need to accept, anybody that likes FE4 needs to accept that the way that this plot is presented to you fucking sucks. This game has so much proper noun slop in both the first little bit of Gen 1 and the first little bit of Gen 2. There is so much shit that they just dump on you. This game is terrible at show not tell. It is fucking awful at show not tell. In the start of the game, you have to understand Granvale's position in the greater hierarchy of Jogdrol, the Isaacian revolution, and what just happened within that context. Sigurd's relationship with Augustria, who the fuck Arvis is, like, and the relationship of each of the houses. Like, Quan is not actually from he's not here. He's not from Granvale. He's from the Thracian Peninsula, and he's just Sigurd's friend. And you have to understand who the fuck the people in Verdane are and why they're taking some people. There's just a lot of stuff that the game has to get across to you, and it does not do a great job of making it more gradual. In addition to that, I think this game kind of screws itself over a little bit. I see the vision of having these giant maps where you can do whatever you want, but these giant maps that actually, like, I think it's cool that you can, like, layer the maps on top of each other to make an accurate map of Jugdrol, but at the end of the day, like, I'm not jerking myself off over whether the maps fit the map of the continent that's given to me in the game instruction guidebook. I'm actually trying to play the video game. Playing Genealogy is, it's something, alright. This game is like the first, Path of Radiance style game where every enemy phase is gonna shave off parts of your lifespan because it's so goddamn long. I do think legitimately what this game needs is I hope that if they remake it, I'm a little bit torn on whether I would want them to split the chapters up, but definitely I think half of the issues with this game would be solved if you could actually menu quickly and if you could skip enemy phase. Genuinely, so much of the issues in this game will get fixed instantly with that. But as it stands, the way that you're playing FE4 it's just not good. Also, this is when, like, Kaga started fucking around with, like, more explicit difficulty modes, and let me tell you, it does not work. I like the fact that Kaga's games are like one vision for the game, and you play the game that exists for the most part. Like, FE2 Easy mode and Thracia Paragon mode are like kind of like hidden, like secret, they're just like little Easter eggs that you can find. They're not like the canon difficulty of the game. I like that that's how it is. The clever mode AI in this game is fucking dog shit. Like, please never cook that again. Now that I've shat on this game for a while, let's talk about the good parts. It's just fun to see your roided up Nepo babies nuke the second generation. Like, sending Eris against Ishtar for the 4th time and watching him critter to death is fun. Like, we have to accept that and we have to acknowledge that. Being able to have Lewin fuck the child and get a horse user that, a horse Forseti user that you can walk around the map with, it's fun. Like, the game's just, the actual, like, way that you crack the game open is fun. Doing the Vantage Patty bullshit in the arena with the sleep edge, it is kind of fun. You have to admit it's kind of fun. Unfortunately, playing that at real time is a hell I would not wish upon anyone. If you're gonna play this game, play it on an emulator, and for the love of God, make sure your speed up keybind is handy, because you're gonna fucking need it. I think that there's some mechanics in here that are kind of nothing burgers, like sibling crit, lover crit, all that shit is ass. Pursuit is a piece of shit, and I've talked about it at length in my previous videos. I don't really like Pursuit as a concept, especially in the confluence of it existing and also the fact that you have to delineate between Pursuit as a class skill and Pursuit as a personal skill, and how only the personal skill version gets passed on. It's kind of a crapshoot, whatever. The stuff I do like is kills, like weapon kills being giving you crit. So you have these like heirloom weapons that get passed around like a blunt in the Granvale army. I think that's fucking cool. I'm just gonna say it. I think it's cool. I think that the most fun, FE4 falls into the classic issue that a lot of different games fall into, which is that thinking about playing it is a lot more fun than actually playing it. Like, thinking about playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a lot more fun than actually going to your locals and getting hit with a Phydralis Harmonia on your first effect activation. FE4 is kind of like that, like doing whatever the fuck is fun. If you have played FE4 before and you want to do a revisit, my recommendation, legitimately, do a randomizer. The randomizer FE4 is a ton of fun. 50 kills is borderline impossible. The hell was Kag smoking? I think on every weapon it's impossible. I think, I don't know about that. I mean, considering that it's like a 2-generation game and you can pass the weapons down, I think that it's actually fairly feasible. I think I would put this in the middle range or little bad category. One of the two. Pursuit would be so cool if you just lower the doubling threshold. I feel like, okay, here's the thing. The way that the stats work in FE4, lowering the doubling threshold, like if you made the regular doubling threshold 4 and lowered the doubling threshold, it still wouldn't be, it would be just as useless. Because I think that, because the way that speed tiers work in FE4 is that there's really fast units, mid units, and really slow units, and there's no amount of finagling you can do to fix them, to have a unit go up a speed tier. It's just, well, okay, the one exception is Master Knight promotion, I feel like. There's some promotions that will allow you to bridge that gap, but otherwise, like, lowering the speed benchmark is not, the doubling threshold benchmark is not going to change anything, because it's not going to put your unit into a different speed tier. It's just not going to happen. Swords will still be the only thing that doubles. Yeah, that's another thing. The weapon type based weight fucking sucks, and I hope that if this game gets a remake, that's one of the things that's considered. Like, I do think that that's one thing that I actually do have a big issue with FE4 in terms of is, I think that, like, all swords being the same weight, all lances being the same weight, all axes being the same weight, it sucks, but I'm willing to let it exist. What I'm not willing to let slide is all tomes of the same element all being the same weight. I'm sorry, there is no reason that a wind tome, a fire tome, and a thunder tome, and an Elwind should be different weights when they have the same might and the same accuracy and shit, and thunder gives you crit, I guess. But I do think that it makes fire tomes, like, disproportionately dog shit, and I think that kind of sucks, because part of Fire Emblem, part of the fantasy of Fire Emblem is that you're like a little Chunibyo ass D&D player that's going, this divine lightning will pierce the sky, and you get to use your fireball. Like, you know, it's like playing Magic the Gathering. Yeah, lightning bolt is an effective removal spell, but also it makes you feel badass when you tap a red mana and bolt the shit out of your opponent's one drop. Like, it feels good, and I think that the tomes being element based and not like tier based, so like all the L tomes are the same weight, all the A rank tomes are the same weight. I feel like that's kind of a missed opportunity, and it kind of sours the magical combat experience in this game. Also, the map division in this game is just fucking strange. 3 of the Gen 1 maps are in Augustria, 3 of the Gen 2 maps are in the Thracian Peninsula. I feel like you don't really get to explore the rest of the continent and its dynamics as much as the game wants you to think that you do. I don't know, I just think that I think I would keep Endgame the same way it is, Chapter 10 the same way it is, pick one Augustria map, keep Chapter 1 the same way it is, keep Chapter 6 the same way it is, Chapter 4, and then you gotta divvy the rest of this shit out a little bit better. I just think that one map in Leinster, one map in Thracia is fine. One map for all of Augustria. You don't get 2 maps for Augustria. You get 1 map for Augustria, and then you divvy the rest out a little bit better. This is why I think that, like, maybe splitting up the maps would be better, because you would get to explore the rest of the continent a little bit more. I think I'm gonna put it in the middle range. I've talked myself into remembering all the good times I've had with this game. I'm not gonna act like every time I boot up this game, I'm like, ugh, this game sucks. No, man, I've had good times while playing FE4. This game's, it's not bad. I just think that, I wouldn't say it's good either. This should be here. What the hell is this song? Oh, this is loud. No, this is too loud for this. Moving on. Thracia 776, baby. I will say, when Kaga was like, this is my last game for Insys, I'm gonna make a banger, buddy, he made a fucking banger. This game fucks. I don't know what to tell you other than this game fucks. Now, here's what I'm gonna say. What I say about this game and what I say about FE6 is gonna leave a lot of you confused if I don't give this context ahead of time. I think that in a game series like Fire Emblem, what's really, really important is that you, as the developer, make sure that you have a consistent relationship with the player. If the player is supposed to play your game and go, wow, this developer's being an asshole for no reason, and that's just the ethos of the game, that's fine, but you have to be consistent in it. If you want to play the game and be like, this developer's trying to help me understand how to play the game and teach me how to have fun, that's fine too. It's like playing a troll level in Super Mario Maker. You know what you're signing up for, so you don't feel that bad. In Thracia, the second you get put in Munster, like, you know that this game is going to antagonize the shit out of you, and you kind of just have to live with it. And the game never really stops antagonizing you, so the expectation that it's going to antagonize you is set from the beginning. And it doesn't just antagonize you, it also gives you a bunch of bullshit that you can feel that catharsis when you get to beat the shit out of it right back. Like, it's genuinely a give and take in this scenario. If, it's like, how do I put this? It's like, if any of you guys have ever played Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, that game, the bosses are very, very difficult in that game, and it's not like Dark Souls where you can just, like, go look up the best weapon in the game and just equip it and just beat the boss that way. No, you have to actually, I know this is a shocker for a lot of you Souls players, you have to actually, like, be good at the game to beat the bosses. However, there's a lot of bosses that, like, sometimes repeat, and there's a serious catharsis in coming back and beating the fucking shit out of them. One of the hardest bosses one of the bosses that, like, gates you from, like, the second half of the game is Genichiro on the tower. And the final boss fight in the game, the first phase of that is you fighting Genichiro again. And let me tell you, his patterns aren't particularly easier. In fact, if anything, his patterns are harder, but every single person I've seen play Sekiro absolutely bodies him because they've gotten better at the game. That kind of progression where you get better at the game isn't quite as possible in Fire Emblem because it's very resource-based, but in Thracia, the game gives you a bunch of powerful staves. It gives you Tina with Thief and Unlock. It gives you a Dancer. It gives you fucking Sed. Jesus Christ. It gives you so many broken-ass PRFs. You get all those scrolls to make your units into coked-up monstrosities. And by the time you hit the late game, your unit quality is so high that you can leverage the tools that you have to bully the game the same way the game bullied you when it was earlier on in the going. Like, back when in the early going, Galzus will just show up if you take too long and body your entire army by proccing a random movement star. In the late game, you are Galzus. You are Galzus. You teleport into the middle of Reinhardt's squad, you kill one guy, and then you just enemy face everybody because your units are so fucking strong. And that owns. I think that's so fucking cool. This game definitely goes too far at some points. There are definitely some times where I look at a map in this game and I go, yeah, this one just definitely did not need to exist. 24x? Yeah, 24x is the most obvious example, and this game definitely does need to tell you some shit, but if you're willing to accept that this is one of those games where you just kind of have to have the wiki open, it's a ton of fun, and I genuinely do mean it. Hell, I beat this. When I first played FE4 and FE5, I was in high school and I'd gotten all my shit done and I was just playing it on like an online emulator site. I was playing FE4 without speed up and I got stuck in chapter 4 and I was like, this game fucking sucks. Oh my god. And I was so tired of it that I just quit. And when I got to Thracia, I beat the whole game. There was one chapter that I really struggled on because I didn't really understand how deployment order worked. But god damn if I didn't have a good time with the game. I'm gonna go get something to drink because I can tell I'm about to get emotional with this one. Let me go get something to drink. Alright, we're back. Chat, do I drink the Coke Zero first, or do I drink the orange soda first? Okay, I'll drink the Coke Zero first. Alright. Here's the deal. I don't think they've ever made a game as dog shit as this. And I don't think they ever will. Well, I think there's a chance they could, but I don't think I've never played a game genuinely as dog shit as this. The story of FE6, let's start off with the story. The story of FE6 is, it's there. I think the concept of FE6 being about a guy who is so, a mad king who is so misanthropic that he turns to what he believes is a more pure being in search of a better world in the form of dragons, and in so plunges the entire continent into war. And then his sister has to unfortunately kind of put him down despite caring deeply for him. It's pretty decent. I would put this in the top half of Fire Emblem plots from a broad strokes perspective. That being said, the moment-to-moment storytelling in FE6 is genuinely so bad that it boggles the mind. The average conversation in FE6 is that you see Roy talking to Merlinus, or Roy talking to Guinevere, or Roy talking to Elfin, or Roy talking to Douglas. Do you realize the cast there are relationships between the people of the cast, but you don't get to develop them unless you do the support conversations, which are like fucking annoying to access in this game. But also, there's like these superliminal, like the game doesn't show you that these characters are like care about each other or are like related. I think the one example of I think this not being true is like Noah and Fear. I think they're fairly well established as characters that have like a relation to each other, but I feel like it's so hard to give a shit about half the people in this cast because they're such nothing burgers. And now you're gonna say, isn't that the same thing with FE1? Sort of. But I think that Kaga managed to kind of move past that with something like Thracia and FE4. There's a lot more, like a lot of Thracia is Leaf talking to Augustus and shit. However, I do think that it's better off because like you get to see these like funny little characters. Like you get to see Fergus and Matcha. You get to learn about Hannibal and how he's holding down the fucking fort in Thracia. You get to learn a lot more about other cool side characters. The only, like, the most badass character in this game on the enemy side is Percival, and I'm not gonna take any input on this. We all know it's Percival. And you learn like 2 sentences of lore about him. The next most cool is Cecilia, and she's fucking dog shit. That's another thing that this game has a big issue with, is character power scaling, for lack of a better word. This game is really, really, really bad at integrating the story and gameplay in a meaningful manner. You're supposed to be, the game's trying to tell you, oh yeah, Percival, Douglas, and Cecilia are fucking goated. They're like, Cecilia was even Roy's teacher, so you know she's got that MFing thing on her. And then you look at her stats and she's got like 10 magic, 10 speed, and you're like, what the fuck? What happened here? She can't even hit a wyvern half the time with air caliber. The gameplay plot coherence doesn't work. A lot of the times, one thing I really liked in Thracia is that usually the Gaiden chapter requirements in Thracia, oh, that's another thing that Thracia introduced, by the way, Gaiden chapters. We wouldn't have that without Thracia. We wouldn't have I guess they're pair logs now, which is kind of unfortunate. I kind of like the linear story progression Gaiden chapters, the way that Thracia through like FE12 did it, but I digress. The way that Thracia handles Gaiden chapters is, oh, we beat the previous chapter that was in the darkness before the light came up, so the people that are ransacking this mansion weren't able to escape in time, so now we get to deal with the people that are ransacking the mansion. Oh, we dealt with the enemies on this map quickly enough so we could go in and actually rescue Dagdar and Tanya, so we're gonna have a Gaiden chapter there. Oh, we rescued all the green units in the previous chapter and they told us there's more trapped because they trust us now, so we're gonna have another Gaiden chapter. Oh, we got somebody captured, so we're gonna have a Gaiden chapter. Oh, we're gonna be trying to rescue, what's her face, Avel. So we have a Gaiden chapter for that. In FE6, I think there's like 2 times when it's like that. The one that I'm like, this is very explicitly a turn limit, is chapter 21X, where Murdoch is like, go fucking destroy the Apocalypse Tome. We need it to be gone so they cannot get the Binding Blade. And you're like, you know what? Okay, fair enough. I accept that. There's also, I think, 1 or 2 more, like for 16X, I think there's one. Well, no, because 16X, there's nothing for 16X, like, you have to keep Milady and Z's alive, but if you get Milady killed somehow, then you're just cooked out of it. For Diane and the Diane and Juno ones, I think that's fine, except for the part where you could have just failed the Gaiden chapter 15 chapters earlier and you would have no way of knowing. That's another thing this game does, is that you just fail Gaiden chapters way earlier than you have any way of knowing that they exist, and that it's really frustrating. And it's not as big of an issue in Thracia, because if you skip a Gaiden chapter in Thracia, do you know what you lose? Like, some items. Do you know what happens if you skip a Gaiden chapter in this game? You miss out on the true ending. You get like a shitty ending that doesn't answer anything. Like, no, the structure of the game just doesn't make any sense. The way I see it, like, from a broad strokes perspective, I feel like FE6 is just an attempt to replicate what Kaga did and the magic that Kaga was able to harness in FE5 without truly understanding why it worked. The enemies are just as fucking annoying in this game as they are in Thracia. There's still just as many amber spawns, but your army isn't as goated. You don't have a ton of powerful utility staves the way you always do, and you can just miss the one warp staff that the game gives you. Your units are actually frequently under par compared to enemy units. I did some math, and I think, aside from like hard mode bonus units, there's like very, very few units that you would actually are like stronger than the enemy counterparts, which just kind of, it just feels bad when there's so many enemies and so few player units. The cast is huge, but unlike in Thracia, where missing a few of them makes you feel kind of bad, missing a few of them here, missing a few of the cast here locks you out of the true ending. There's a reason why it's really hard to lock yourself out of the true ending in FE3, and part of that is because getting the spheres is a lot easier in FE3 than FE6. Another thing that FE6 really does, and this is a common complaint, and I feel like I'm probably the most qualified to talk about this. I feel like the weapon stats in this game just don't make sense. In a 1RN environment, what you need to understand is that this game is not designed with the context that it's set for itself. This game is just badly designed, full stop. Number 1, Thracia. All the stat caps are 20. Number 2, enemy stats are really low. They have powerful tactics, but they do not have BST. Number 3, your player stat units are really high towards the end of the game. That's just the truth of the matter, because you just get powerful units. Within this context, giving you a weapon that has 45 hit and telling you should be using this is fine, because even if you have 45 hit, it doesn't fucking matter, because your stats are going to be so high that you're just gonna have the 99 capped hit against enemies. in FE5. In FE6, there is no excuse to have the weapons be as low accuracy as they are, considering that not only are enemy units stronger than your units, they have better tactics still, and it's a 2RN game, so low hit rates aren't as, like, acceptable. There's just no reason for it to exist like this. This game's also, like, got, like, some bugs that are just fucking annoying. The 100 missed bug is a non-factor, I'm not gonna count that, but what bug is absolutely a real thing is the Canto bug. Frequently, you'll be playing the game, and at least twice throughout the game, you'll just not be able to Canto out, and in a game where your player actions matter so fucking much, having a bug that just makes it so you can't do that is so stupid. Missing a bunch is not an issue if you play properly. That's so... I'm sorry because it's gonna sound rude, but that's dumb as shit. Within this context, I'm not saying that FE6 doesn't have ways that you can get 100 hit. There are absolutely a ton of ways you can get access to really reliable combats in FE6. All of them suck ass to do, go against what the game wants you to do, and potentially lock you out of the true ending, and require knowledge ahead of time. The biggest example of this is supports. The support system in Thracia is fairly bare bones and is like a little bit of a bonus that you can take advantage of if you're kind of savvy. In FE6, the support system is insanely tedious, but also absurdly powerful. If you get like Roy Lilina A support, they give each other like 3 attack, 25 hit, 25 crit, 25 avoid, I think, and like, no, it's like split up between avoid and crit avoid, and then like 1 defense. Like, the amount of buffs you get off supports are so crazy. Yes, the supports are a way you can get good accuracy against enemies, but it's slow as shit, it's not interesting, you need to know who can support who ahead of time, which, to be fair, the supports in this game are fairly obvious. Like, aside from stuff like Dorothy, Clarine, where it's just 2 characters that don't actually have a pre-existing relationship, for the most part, it's like characters that already have a pre-existing relationship will support each other. So, Clarine and Klein are siblings. They'll support each other. Shauna, Tate, and Juno are sisters. They support each other. Diane, Sue, and Shin support each other. Shin and Fear support each other because they were both on the Western Isles. Fear and Noah support each other because you see them together on the arena. All of the Ilian Cavalier gang support each other. Roy supports a bunch of different characters, but Lilina supports Roy, and then a bunch of the not Ilian, Ostian Knight Brigade. A lot of that shit just makes sense. Like, to be perfectly honest, I have no issue with the way that the who supports whom, though it is kind of stupid to not let you get access to it. Lag, do you like Assassin's Creed? Never played an Assassin's Creed in my life, and to be perfectly honest, I probably won't be. Use swords, fire, and fa. That's enough.
Are you listening to yourself? You told me to use 3 weapon types!
And one of them is only available to 1 unit! That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my fucking life, dog! It's almost like, why give me 60 units if I can only use 15 of them to get actually reliable combats in a game that demands reliable combats? Like, the cope that FE6 fans build for themselves is so fucking ridiculous. A lot of the ambush spawns, another thing that this game is really dog shit at is that it is supremely inconsistent. In Thracia, you have to be worried about the Grim Reaper shoving his big dick in your ass every chapter because that's just how Kaga designed the game. Almost every single chapter, there's gonna be some bullshit there, and you just have to live with it. However, there's some genuinely designed maps like reasonably well-designed maps in FE6 that you can't expect any reasonable player to play in a way that's fun because all of the other maps surrounding it make you think that there's gonna be ambush spawns that show up inside of your anal cavity and start nibbling on your sphincter. Like, that's just the expectation that the rest of the game sets is that you are my enemy, and then when you start like turtling on Chapter 14 because it's a Fog of War desert map and you don't know if there's a wyvern in the fog, all of the FE6 fans will be like, actually, you're supposed to use your thief torch, and they use their thief torch, and you go, well, maybe there's still just a wyvern outside of the range of this torch. I have no idea. I'm gonna be trying to take it slow. And then you take it slow, and you get locked out of the guide, and the FE6 fan goes, actually, you should be going fast, because there's a turn count on this chapter. First of all, how the fuck was I supposed to know that? Second of all, how the fuck was I supposed to know that there were desert items on this map? Third of all, why would I go fast on an FE6 map when every single map up to this point has been shoving ambush spawns behind me and taking me by surprise in a way that feels uninteractable? There's just no trust built between the game developer and the player to make you want to play the game in any way other than that. And don't think I wasn't gonna let this shit slide. I need you guys to listen to this. Listen to this again for a little bit. Now, the percussion there is a little bit, it's a little bit grating, but it's like fairly reasonable. Now I need you to listen to this. I need you to listen to this and tell me whether this sounds like the sound font uses its abilities better or not. Every single thing is so fucking crunchy. I just don't like the GBA sound font, to be honest. Like, or like, listen to like listen to this unused. Everything that FE6 takes from something else is like totally. Hold up. What is the? No. What the fuck is it? This one. It's so bad. It's so bad. Now, admittedly, this was a part of the trial map, so I'm not gonna count it too much. But like at the end of the day, I just don't think that. I think these set of games and the other two GBA games do have this as an issue, but they have it much less because they are willing to compromise. I think these games, this game is a clear example of the sound designers going, okay, let's try to emulate what actual instrumentation would sound like. Let's put like a guitar in here, let's put like a piano in here, and without realizing that it's not going to sound good unless you make it sound a little bit artificial. You need to make it sound a little bit artificial on the GBA to make it sound any good. Like, compare this to... Okay, this is kind of an unfair comparison. Compare this GBA theme to this SNES theme. Now, I need you to, aside from the fact that Pluck is like one-of-a-kind banger material, I need you to like try to listen to it and try to listen to some of this OST and think about how much of this actually sounds like real instruments and how much of it sounds like you're like making like digital music. It's fine to make digital music even because it's gonna sound better. This game is just unwilling to actually pay fucking attention to what it's trying to do. That's my issue with it. This game is not willing to do what it wants to do, and it's super lazy. Again, a lot of the stats and the weapon stats and all that shit, mechanics and stuff, are ported over from Thracia without understanding the context behind it. Like, the route split in this map is like super, like, you would never fucking know about the route split, whereas the route split in Thracia is Leaf literally goes, we have one option or the other option. We can go left or right, and then there's a left escape and a right escape, and you get to pick one, and lo and behold, whichever one you pick puts you on a different fucking map. Like, it takes you to a different route. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that so much better than, yeah, if you visit this one set of villages, the left one locks you out of the right one and puts you on the A route of the alien, of the Isles, and the other one puts you on the B route of the Isles. And also, if you have these, these sets of two units leveled up above one another, then you'll automatically get put on there. And also, if you level up a pair of them and one of them dies, congratulations, you've lost the true ending. Like, sorry, this is just not, it's just not a good concept. Like, the houses tell you about the route split. Okay, I will accept that I don't fucking look at the houses in GBA games because they are mostly a waste of time. I do, but, like, I do think that, like, at some point you do have to admit, like, they should have put, when it's something that's going to drastically change how you approach the next couple of chapters and lock you out of a unit, they should be a little bit more obvious about that. I don't know, this game is fucking god-awful. This is, like, my least favorite Fire Emblem game. And it's by far. Honestly, I think Binding Blade needs to be remade more than Genealogy so someone can make it better. That's the thing. Like, I think that this game, there's like some, underneath the shit avalanche, there's like some diamond buried in there. You can make something out of this game. I think that FE4 would be a lot more of like an all-encompassing change. Aside from the part where like quality of life would make that game feel a lot better to play, a game like FE6 I think could really take advantage of the systems being updated and whatnot. So, okay, let's move on to FE7. This game, I have to admit, like, it's a little unfair because FE6 is the hardest of the 3 GBA games, and I feel like the difficulty in GBA is just hard to manage to begin with. I like FE7 probably a bit more than I should. I think that FE7 is, like, exactly, I would say it's exactly okay. Bordering on good. Number one thing I think that this game really has going for it is a cast. This game has a fucking cast, man. There are so many units that I fucking love in this game. I love Lucius and Raven's situationship. I love Priscilla. I love Urk and Sarah. What's his face? Sane and Kent are awesome. Lynn, Hector, Eliwood are fairly interesting. Florina's fun. You have Canas, Pent and Louise, Hawkeye, Harkin, Karel. There's like a lot of cool characters in this game. I think people are the problem people have with this game is that its story feels a little bit hacked, like story feels a little bit scuffed, and the second part is that it's a little bit too easy and in a way that's frustrating. I 100% agree that the way FE7 is balanced, especially on higher difficulties, is kind of frustrating. The fact that your best units just get replaced because you just get a pre-promote that's better is, like, trust me, you're not gonna get me, like, you're not gonna get me to say that Pent existing in the game in the way that he does is good game design. Like, I do think that he's extremely overtuned. But, like, you have to accept that, like, it's just fun to have access to bullshit strong units. The part where it stops being fun is when you level up your Urk or whatever and you put a bunch of effort into him and he ends up still being worse than Pent. And in that situation, I do think that FE7 kind of, I think that a middle ground like FE8 Sale is a lot better because any well-trained loot is going to have better stats than Sale. Is she going to be overall better than Sale? No, because you didn't put any effort into training up Sale and he's still going to get the job done. But on like a visceral mental level, it's gonna feel better in FE8 Sale versus Loot compared to FE7 Urk versus Pent because Pent's still just gonna be fucking better. Like, a lot of times he's just gonna be better. This game introduced a lot of cool stuff in it, actually. This game is the first game to have per weapon rank gain stuff. So like steel weapons giving you 2 weapon EXP. Oh my god, that's another thing that FE6 fucking sucks at. The weapon rank gain at FE6 makes me want to kill myself. Jesus fucking Christ, it's so bad. Oh my god, it's so shitty the fact that you, like, just can't, you have to spend 50 staff actions to get to the next staff rank. Even in Thracia, like, you aren't gonna believe this. This, FE7 isn't the first game to give you more weapon rank depending on the item you use. Thracia actually is scaling staff rank. So once you get out of E rank hell, your staff rank gain goes, like, up exponentially because, let me see, hold up. Thracia weapon EXP. Let me just get the exact information here. Hold up. Thracia, Serenus Forest. I need to go to the calculations page for Thracia. Calculations. Check it out. Okay, so weapon ranks, it's 50 per weapon rank. So, but to get from E to D takes 50 weapon ranks, from D to C takes 50, from C to B takes 50, from B to A takes 50. When you're using a weapon, it only takes 50. It takes 50. There's no real way to do that. Same with magic. For staves, you get 1 weapon rank for using an E rank staff, 2 weapon ranks for using a D rank staff, 3 for a C rank, 4 for a B rank, 5 for an A rank, and 10 for a personal staff. Like, that's so much more that's so much better designed than the shit that they were doing in FE6, where, like, your weapon rank gain isn't too bad. Unless you're using bows on, like, bar tray or some shit like that, in which case you're gonna suffer because you don't have access to more than, like, 1 combat usually. Whereas, in Thracia, at least your staff rank gain is going to be reasonable. Like, if you use, like, if we had the Thracia weapon rank gain system, you could use, like, 25, like, a mend staff, and then a 4th of a mend staff, and get Clarine to C rank, and then she's on her way from there. FE7 handles itself a lot better on this front, and I think the mechanic itself is good. The Devil Axe giving you 8 weapon EXP is a fun thing. I don't know how they expected people to find it. Maybe they were just like, oh, I wonder why my weapon rank is getting so much when I have the Devil Axe. It's just a fun thing, to be perfectly honest. I will say, okay, FE6 does look great. The GBA looks great, but I think that it looks a little bit too, like, the colors are a little bit too bright, I think, for me, especially on the aisles, and there's not that many tile sets in FE6. I think FE7, like, sort of nails the perfect balance of tile sets look a little bit nicer. There's a lot more, like, unique class animations. Like, there's Hector, Lynn, and Eliwood that each have 2 different classes that each have a unique animation, not only for their base class, like, so there's, like, Eliwood base class normal attack, Eliwood base class crit, Eliwood promoted class normal attack, Eliwood promoted class crit, Eliwood promoted class Lance normal attack, Eliwood promoted class Lance crit, Eliwood promoted class Durandal attack, Eliwood promoted class Durandal crit. That's 8 animations just for Eliwood. I think that's fucking awesome. Like, FE6 doesn't really have that in the same way. Hell, this game gives Hawkeye custom animations, for the love of God. The cast is a little bit smaller in a way that I don't like. Like, there only being 1 Nomad is kind of strange, but whatever. Overall, I think the game's just, like, kind of fun. Like, it's just chill. You go around the map, you give Raven a bunch of kills, he becomes a fucking god-destroying menace, and you beat the game, and you have a fairly reasonable time. The one thing I will absolutely not hesitate to criticize this game for is the fact that it being billed as a prequel to FE6 is not executed upon well whatsoever. Part of it is that FE6 is kind of a piece of shit, but also part of it is that they sort of wrote themselves into a corner with this game. Extra animations for ranged weapons. Yeah, but those aren't like those animations are fairly, like, minimal. They're not, like, super, like, Javelin, the Eliwood promoted class Javelin animation isn't that crazy. Having to download a save file to play Hector Hard Mode is a crime IMO. Sort of. I do think, here's what I will say. I think you should have to play the game once before being able to access Hector Hard Mode. I think it's totally fine for you to have to play through a game's normal mode once before accessing the hard mode. The fact that you have to do Lin mode, Eliwood normal mode, then Eliwood hard mode, then I think you have to do Hector normal mode and then Hector hard mode. Maybe you don't have to do Hector normal mode. I think that it's kind of crazy that you have to beat the game twice before you can unlock Hector hard mode. And it doesn't really offer that much replay value. Like, I don't really like that. But considering that there's, like, a bunch of different, like, there's a couple of different maps, the layouts are different, this game has a reasonable amount of replay value. And also the replays give you access to, like, stuff that you wouldn't have otherwise. Like, I do think that forcing you to play through a game twice is actually a good idea, in Fire Emblem at least, because it gives you an excuse to use more units in the cast. And because this game has fairly high unit quality, if you use, like, if you say, okay, this last run I didn't use bar tray, I'm gonna use bar tray this time. Last run I didn't use Ninian, last run I didn't use Lucius, I'm gonna use Lucius instead of Canas this time. Let's see whether he's any good. And you might end up, like, stumbling into some supports and stuff like that, and you might, like, the fact that supports are faster, you just learn a little bit more about the world in that way. The third playthrough is fucking madness. Forcing that is unacceptable, but I do think that it's fine to force you to do Eliwood normal mode your first time. The 2 things that I think this game really fucking sucks ass at. that I haven't mentioned yet are, number one, it does not serve as a good prequel to FE6. I think that the way that the story leads into FE6 is really shittily done. I think we have to accept that the plot of FE7 is barely the plot of FE7 is barely functional. Like, shit does not work, gang. Like, it has a reasonable amount of internal consistency. Like, I'm not even doing that, like, mecha style, FE6 is the worst thing, FE7 has the worst plot since FE7 is the biggest disappointment since my son. Oh, like, Cinema Sins ass. Oh, why does Lynn's grandpa not die from the poison earlier? Ding, Cinema Sins counter. Like, I don't give a shit about that. What I will say is shit like Fidel not teleporting when he's the guy that teleports and dying as a result is kind of stupid. I think we can all accept accept that. The Elliewood Ninian stuff where Elliewood kills Ninian fucking rules. The Athos, being able to actually play as Athos is awesome. The fact that you get to fight a dragon at the end of the game is cool. I think this game, like, FE6 feels like it's ripping off Thracia and FE1 and trying to do its own thing, and it sucks at all three. This game is ripping off just FE1, and everything else that it has in the system is just trying to make FE6's system a little bit better. And I think that it does a fairly substandard job at ripping off FE1, but the rest of the game, it's fairly reasonable. Like, I don't think it's bad. Like, there's still some stuff in here that I don't really like the way the fact that you either recruit Geats or who the fuck's the other one? Because who's the other unit that you get in not Four-Fanged Offense. Is it Four-Fanged Offense? Who the fuck's the other unit? Geats or Wallace. Like, that shit, they just don't tell you. I do think it's kind of crazy that there's a chance you just never see Wallace again after seeing him at the end of Lin mode as a total badass. That is kind of crazy. But also, Lin mode is a pretty good tutorial. Having to play through it again fucking sucks, but I digress. Overall, I would put this in the middle range. Probably above FE4. In defense of FE7, they had to rip off FE1. I don't think that it's a bad idea to rip off FE1. FE3 literally remakes FE1. I think ripping off FE1 as, like, your base game concept is totally fine. I just think that the execution in FE7 is not that great. And that's what I'm actually taking an issue with. And you know what? I forgot that I was going to do it this way. Let's talk about BSFE. I meant to do this after FE3. I've played BSFE. Getting access to it is kind of a pain. It's basically like a bunch of DLC maps for FE3. It's an FE3 thing. It's cool. You get to see, like, Frost and all them. It's not that interesting, though. Like, really? Like, it's just not that interesting. I'm just gonna put it a little bad. Like, like, BSFE is, like, very, very boring because it's, like, one set of maps. I think a big part of what makes Fire Emblem good is that the maps have, like, a compounding factor on each other, where at the start of a run, it feels like you are playing the story given to you. Towards the end of the run, you're sort of, you're in control of the narrative to some degree because you have raised a full army of your own. I think that fucking rules, and BSFE kind of doesn't play to that strength. But it's still FE3, like, I can't hate it too much. I think I'll probably put it in bad. Put me in this shit, gang. Oh yeah, we got some bangers coming up. Let me turn up the fan here. I'm sweating my balls off. Also, another thing, before we move on from FE7, I think we forget to talk about how FE7 is the dawn of, like, real yaoi. Like, you could be like, oh, I think Marth and Merrick are fucking, or Merrick and Arlen are fucking. But, like, FE7, Raven, Lucius, those fuckers they're going at it in the tents, and I fucking love that. I love them so much. I love the characters in FE7 so much. And that's an important thing in a game. Like, you need to care about the characters in order to enjoy it in a Fire Emblem game. FE8. This game, I respect the hell out of it. I genuinely do respect the hell out of FE8. And what it gave the community is invaluable. FE8 as a game is very clearly a send-off to Gaiden, and I think it does a pretty fucking good job. Two protagonists, it's extremely sexist in its writing. Okay, let's actually try to approach it with some good faith. It's two protagonists, there's like an overworld map where you go along, you can grind if you want. They meet up towards the end, and it's got like a decent plot line. the Ephraim, Erica, Leon polycule plotline fucking owns, by the way. Like, I feel like we don't give it enough credit. Like, Leon as a tragic hero / antagonist is really, really good. He's much better realized than somebody like Hardin, for instance. I just don't think Hardin is that interesting compared to somebody... Like, Hardin is kind of interesting, but he's nowhere near as interesting as somebody like... as Leon in this game. The cast is fairly small by Fire Emblem standards, so I do think that this is one of the first games that kind of doesn't really work that well with permadeath, but the cast is still big enough. And also, this game is short. Like, it's not like Lin mode short, it's not part 1 of Radiant Dawn short, but it's like fairly short. It's only like 25 chapters or something like that, and I think that really works to its advantage. The fact that the game's like a little bit of... you can get in and out of a Sacred Stones playthrough if you're playing it like on and off within the course of a week, even on hard mode. And I think that that's good. I think that plays to its advantage. Sacred Stones is not trying to position itself as like your Fire Emblem game of choice that you play and you are like self-identified as the Sacred Stones Andy. No, Sacred Stones is like comfort food, you know? I love to eat comfort food. I also love to eat for food. I don't know why I said that. That's not true. That's not true. Or maybe it is. I don't know. FE8 is not the game. It's not positioned as the game that you come back to all the time. It's a game that you come back to every once in a while when you're like, I want to play some Fire Emblem, but I don't want to boot up fucking Radiant Dawn and play 45 chapters where I have to be in the driver's seat the entire time. If you just want to kind of sit back and just let the game take you where it wants to take you, FE8 is a great option for that. I think that it serves a purpose that none of these other games serve quite as well. I think that fucking owns. Summoners and mad fun. Yeah. There's also like cool stuff, like branching promotions is just cool. Like, I think that this game being like all in on branching promotions is really smart and like a good idea. The trainees are a little poorly implemented in terms of power level, but you know, that's life. When doesn't Fire Emblem implement something for its first time in a terribly disastrous way? That's life. I just think it's a smartly designed game. I think it's about this time when we should start talking about Tearing Saga. Out of the Kaga Saga games, Tearing Saga is the only one that I've completed. If you like Thracia, you will like Tearing Saga. If you dislike Thracia, do not play Tearing Saga. Oh my god. This game is so Thracia, it's outrageous. Like, I would say, I don't think it's quite as fun as Thracia, because I think that Thracia really benefits from having the surrounding context of genealogy, and I think that it's good for that in that sense. But like, Tearing Saga, from a gameplay perspective, is Thracia to a T. It's got the same like Kaga-isms where like the women are handled kind of questionably. The story writing is a little bit sussy, but like it's a larger than life plot that's pretty fun. I just think it's good, to be perfectly honest. I don't think it's bad at all. There's a lot of fucking mechanics in this game, though. Like, you are gonna be overwhelmed. I would suggest looking up a guide for this one. I will say, the best unit by far in the game is like I forget what class he's in, like a Dark Knight or whatever, that you recruit on like chapter 6 of the game. And I thought he was a generic enemy and just killed him off and just beat the game. And like, and I did feel, and like, I should have seen, I saw his stats, and I was like, oh my god, this random ass generic has like Paragon and all this shit, what the fuck? And then I just went and killed him. That, admittedly, I'm not gonna say that that was Kaga's fault at all. That was totally on me. The fact that the guy had a name, a portrait, and a bunch of skills, and I still killed him, that's totally my fault. Hold up, oh yeah, Tearing Saga also is one of the coolest mechanics I've seen in Fire Emblem history. This game gives you a staff, a PRF staff, which lets you save the game. That's so cool, right? Like, I think that that's so fucking awesome. I don't think, would I take it over something like FE11 and 12's map saves, or just being able to save every turn like in Radiant Dawn and lower difficulties of Awakening and Fates? Probably not, but I think that that's like the kind of innovation that you come to Kaga for. What the fuck is the enemy doing with Paragon? You didn't question that? Do you really think Kaga would be not beyond putting Paragon on an enemy? Like, do you really think that there's not a world, there's not a timeline in which that guy was just a generic? But I digress. Alright, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance was the first Fire Emblem game that I completed. I'm trying to figure out a way to phrase this. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is the best video game that you want to play exactly one time and fucking never again. The first playthrough of Path of Radiance, especially if it's early in your Fire Emblem journey, is genuinely magical. The world feels so real, the characters are so lively, the map design is fairly reasonable, the game mechanics, oh my god, the game mechanics are so fun! And the plot is, like, actively good, unlike pretty much every other Fire Emblem game. I would say the plot of FE4 is, like, decent. Same with, like, FE6 and 8 and Thracia. The plot of FE9 is, like, actively good. Like, I would, if you had to tell me where I feel about it, I would say it's genuinely good. I would give it like a 7 to an 8 out of 10. I think that there's not much nuance on its end when it discusses racism, and like it's not the messaging isn't really, it kind of falls flat because the racism that it portrays isn't really analogous to what racism looks like in a real world context. But I digress. Kaga would totally do that because he's evil. Kaga gave the Bio Sword with Wrath and Vantage, to be fair. Yeah, Kaga does all kinds of random bullshit that doesn't always work sometimes. Do you really think that Kaga would be opposed to giving an enemy Paragon for no reason? I think it'd be, maybe he'd be like, oh, I just want them to know that Paragon's in this game. I don't know. Gun to my head, balls on the table. I'm telling you, Fire Emblem 9 is the best first Fire Emblem game to play. I just don't think you're pound for pound getting a better first Fire Emblem experience. I used to have a friend, and he fucking hated everything. Oh my god, he hated almost every single game he ever played. But he loved Sacred Stones, and he loved Path of... Like, he quit Fire Emblem after one run of 3 houses, and then I managed to get him to play Fire Emblem again, and he hated pretty much everything he played except FE8, Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn. He was in on those games. And I think it speaks, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I think these 3 games are more focused on being fun than being good. And what do I mean by that? Because a lot of you might be wondering, well, I mean, if a game is fun, then it's going to be good, right? Well, not necessarily. There's some stuff in Path of Radiance that sort of, Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn, that sort of like compromises the gameplay integrity to some degree, but exists solely because it's kind of cool, right? Like, on an objective level, the fact that, how do I put this? On an objective level, the fact that Dusel exists in the way that he does in Sacred Stones is a net, it's Dusel and Seth, is a net negative for the gameplay integrity of Sacred Stones. But they admittedly do kick ass. They're fucking awesome. Like, that's, like, you have to accept that that's kind of badass. This game has so much, like, cool shit in it. Like, the 4-part Serenus Forest battle. That's such an interesting concept. That's so singular in the greater context of Fire Emblem that you don't see it iterated upon in any way, shape, or form until, like, Fates, I think. And even then, like, it's only 2 chapters as opposed to the 4 chapters. The fact that each of them has, like, a different objective. One of them, like, Ike is carrying Leanne or whatever. It's cool, man. It's just a cool game. The cast is so fucking wonderful, dude. Jill, Zyhark, Mordecai, and Leth, Ike himself, Titania, Shinon, and Gatri, and how they sort of represent the people, and how they represent the general populace of Crimea. Elincia, the Crimean Royal Knights are kind of hit or miss in this game at the very least. The rest of the Grail Mercenaries are all fairly reasonable. But I think, like, I've talked about the standouts. Oh, Mist is also a standout. Raisin, oh my god, I fucking love Raisin. I love characters that, there's this archetype of character that feels like they don't have much agency in the world, and they make up for it by constantly being, like, showing anger at the world. I think that's so fucking compelling as a character narrative. Like Madeline in ReZero, fucking Hinoka in Fire Emblem Fates. I really like characters that are understandably so angry, and you just can't help but be like, I get it, but being angry is not gonna solve anything. The game, the skills in the game are wildly unbalanced, and the system is a little bit unpolished. The bonus EXP, it fucking rules. The second, like, the bans, if there's something I would say for this game, what you would need to fix this game is, number one, modern convenience, largely in the sense of enemy phase skip, and making the game play a little bit faster, like the animations a little bit faster. That's step number one. Step number two, make the new game plus rewards actually do something. This game has, like, bans that you get on your units, like, in your game, but they only boost your gross by, like, 5 to 10% each. So make those actually, like, meaningful, and I think you would have a much better time. Like, if it was like, oh, the first run you can only play on... I'm pretty sure this game does do that, where you can only play your first run on normal mode. You can only play your first run on normal mode, but on New Game Plus, you get the bans, and also the game's harder now. So it's like, it feels like you have gotten better, and also your inventory management skills are being challenged. But unfortunately, the way that it works, the only shit that matters is the Night Ward, which is something you get regardless of New Game Plus. The other thing I would probably change is, like, the Lagoo system probably could use a little bit of tweaking in both this game and Radiant Dawn, but you can make it work, generally speaking. And also, there's some mechanics that, the Telly's game's a little bit Kagacore in the sense that there's some mechanics that just don't work. They don't do what they say on the tin. Biorhythm, that it just doesn't work. In Radiant Dawn, we'll get to it in Radiant Dawn, but in this game, it's just a non-factor, because it's on a chapter-by-chapter basis, so, like, it doesn't fucking matter. This game tries a lot of new things as well, like strength being the thing that lowers weapon weight. I do think that that's better than Constitution, because I think Constitution is just kind of a shitty mechanic in the GBA games. I just don't think that it works the way that you want it to work, especially because of the fact that Constitution also influences whether you can rescue drop or not. I think that kind of makes it a shit show. In Path of Radiance, it being based to strength works a little bit better, but it sort of does still kind of suck a tiny bit, because towards the end of the game, your weapon weight just doesn't matter, but that's probably... they probably just wanted it like that. That's more of an issue in Radiant Dawn, though. What else was I going to talk about? I just think this game has a lot of things that, like, afford you cool shit. Like, being able to dance 4 units at once is something that was ridiculously broken in FE4, and they do give you access to it in this game, but they pulled the brakes on it a little bit. They're like, listen. Yes, you can dance 4 units at once, but you're not going to be able to do it all the time. You're going to have to chug some fucking Olive grass or whatever. You're going to have to get your Racing transformed before you can do it. I think that that's just cool. Constitution is GBA's way of inheriting Kaga's misogyny. The late game of FE9 can be a bit iffy. That is one thing that you do that I would be remiss if I didn't bring up. The fact that the final couple bosses are only beatable with Ike and Anna or Nasir, and like you can run away from the Black Knight, but like if you don't have a setup for Ashnard, you are up shit's creek, buddy. Especially on hard mode. I do think that the game does not a great job of making sure you can always. There's like some weird situations where the training wheels are taken off to a degree that they probably shouldn't be taken off on higher difficulties. But you know, it's kind of apples and oranges. And it's not too big of a deal anyways. And you can't access hard mode until you beat normal mode, so I don't give a fuck. My first ever game I beat. First ever Fire Emblem game I beat. Easy mode Path of Radiance, and I fucking loved it, dog. It was so much fun. I think it's cool that the game like does like a little bit of a switcheroo where you're like, oh, we have to go beat Dayan, and then you go there and like Ashnard isn't here, buddy. You got to go back to Crimea and you got to go capture and pick up back in Crimea and rescue everybody in Crimea and go there. Ike is kind of a piece of shit in this game in terms of combat ability, but they fixed that in Radiant Dawn. I would put this game probably above Tearing Saga in terms of quality, because I do think that, again, for me, something that this game provides something that no other game does, and it's that it's the perfect game to recommend somebody that's new to this series. I would not recommend FE7. I would not recommend, because if they're new to gaming in general, and I want them to play Fire Emblem, I would recommend FE7, because then the tutorial will help them understand how the fuck to actually control characters. If they're not new to gaming in general, but they're only new to Fire Emblem, put them on Path of Radiance. It's probably a better tutorial. The way that the game tutorializes is a lot better, and the game frequently does a good job of like showing you mechanics instead of telling you about them. And also, this game does a really good job of rewarding good play patterns. If you beat a chapter quickly, you get bonus EXP. If you do side objectives, you get items and also bonus EXP. The game does a really, really good job of rewarding that, and I think that's something we take for granted a lot of times. It's like Ike, one of the Laguz Royals, and one of the dragons who can harm Ashnard, right? Yeah. Typically, the way that it works is Ike can always harm the Royals. Whichever one of Enna and Nasir you get, based on whether you beat the Black Knight or not, can harm Ashnard. And then, on easy and normal mode, you get the Laguz Royal that you pick immediately. However, in hard mode, you don't get it until Phase 2. And Phase 1 Ashnard still has the same, only Ike, Laguz Royal, and Enna Nasir can hit him, restrictions. So if you can't beat Phase 1 with Ike and Enna or Nasir, whoever you have, then you literally just softlock the game. Also, the music in this game it's decent. I don't think the music in I will say, I've sort of cooled off on the Tellius games OST a little bit as time has gone on, but you wouldn't catch me dead saying that they're bad. It's so fucking good, man. It's so fucking good. Radiant Dawn is like, every time I play Radiant Dawn, I feel like I'm a child again. I feel like it's Christmas morning and I woke up and there's a fucking PS2 in the presents. Or a 3DS. Well, okay, well, the reason there'd be a PS2 is not because I was actually old enough to be a teenager when the PS2 came out. The reason to be a PS2 is because, we lived in India, so the PS2, like, we get stuff later than... I digress! You know, it makes me feel like a kid at the candy shop again. No, Toho does not fit the vibe of this stream. Alright, let's do that. Radiant Dawn, if I had to give one word description to describe Radiant Dawn, I would say that Radiant Dawn fucks. This game owns. It is so cool, dude. Radiant Dawn is, bar none, the most Kaga core Fire Emblem game we have that wasn't actually made by Kaga. The fact of the matter is, let's talk about what makes a Kaga core game, and let's talk about how Radiant Dawn does that well. Then let's talk about what makes a Kaga core game fun, and let's talk about why Radiant Dawn is also fun in that same way. Number one, what makes a Kaga core game a Kaga core game? Weird ass shit. Kaga is a real big fan of doing really strange one-off bits in his games that really only exist to serve gameplay plot coherence and don't otherwise add that much to the story. Radiant Dawn does this all the time. My best example and my favorite example for this is this. Am I tripping or is this a little loud? It's not that loud. My favorite example for this is that in Radiant Dawn, Part 2 Prologue, the map where you get Har, Alencia, Marcia, and Leanne, and you're trying to get Leanne back, has a bunch of random ass mechanics that the game developers put in there that exist solely for that one map. And all it serves to do is make it feel like you're actually playing on the map. Number one, what is going on that map? Well, the enemies are trying to capture Leanne. And how do we represent that? The enemies literally have a one map only capture ability where they can forcibly, if they get to Leanne, capture her the way you would do a unit that doesn't have any weapons in Thracia, and they get the penalties, and so you have to make sure that they don't escape with Leanne. That's your game over condition. Number two, we're fighting in the sky. There's only flyers on this map and you're fighting in the sky. How do we represent that? Well, there's only one kind of terrain on this map and it's clouds. That's the only time clouds show up in the entire rest of the game. Number two, how do we make it feel more like, number three, how do we make it feel more like we're in the sky? Well, check it out. The clouds move every single turn. The music's on the same level as your voice. Oh shit. Okay, well, I will I will make sure to crank it down next time. I don't think this song should be as loud. I guess we'll talk about this. We'll do the new, I'll start over. A Kagakure game is defined by a few things, but I think the most important thing is that it's willing to do strange shit in order to provide a better gameplay plot coherence experience. Radiant Dawn really does this well by introducing one-off mechanics that really just serve the plot better. Burning supplies is a one-time thing. There's no other map where the objective is fucking burning supplies. That's the one map that they do it, and that's because it fits into the story, and it's implemented fairly reasonably. Number 2, like I said, part 2 prologue has the moving cloud train, which we still have never seen in Fire Emblem to this day. It's kind of like Pokemon XY sky battles, except less of a dogshit mechanic. Number 2, every single Kaga game, without fail, gets a little bit too big for its britches and fucks some things up royally. Typically in the 3rd act. Radiant Dawn also does this. I'm not gonna act like Radiant Dawn is perfect. Part 4 is a total shit show. It just being a bunch of route maps is kind of frustrating. I get that it's supposed to be so that you can level up your party in the lead up to the tower. That does not make it any more fun, especially the desert map. The map is not good. Number 3, Kagakure games really rely on making you and the enemies both feel really powerful. And Radiant Dawn is really, really good at this. First of all, this is the first game that has, other than, Dread Fighter, I guess, but I don't really want to count that, that has, consistent tier 3 promotions, and it fucking owns. The stat caps are so high, and you actually reach your caps, so, visually speaking, it looks cool. You get a bunch of flashy new skills whenever you promote into tier 3, and they do, a ton of damage and just kill whoever. And the enemy bosses are no slouches either, on higher difficulties. Look at this Diginsia's stat line. Oh my god, the guy's fucking impossible to kill. Let's spend some time talking about the plot. I think everybody can agree that the Radiant Dawn OST is, fairly good. Let's spend some time talking about the plot. Part 1, I think, is basically flawless. I don't think that anybody's gonna act like part 1 is a flawed narrative or whatever. It gets the job done. You're now playing as the quote-unquote bad guys from the last game. A lot of Radiant Dawn, Path of Radiance, is about, humanizing people that are different from you. And now Radiant Dawn's well, let's challenge the reader a little bit more by making them have to empathize with the people that we were against in the previous game. I think that's a really smart idea. I think it's a really, really smart idea to do something like that. And it accomplishes its goals fairly well by showing you that the prejudices in Dayan are not gone, but they're still, at the end of the day, they're humans. They don't deserve to be oppressed the way they are being oppressed by Benyon. Part 2 is a nice little interlude. It's a nice little interlude with Elincia, who's, I think, a character that has a lot more to give and kind of gets shafted. And it's about her learning what it means to be a queen, and about learning that sometimes you gotta let motherfuckers die. You have to do what's right for your country first and foremost. Now, of course, she does hire the Grail mercenaries do get hired beforehand, so Lucia doesn't actually die. But I'm pretty sure that she went into the execution expecting that if Ike and the Grail mercenaries didn't show up in time, Lucia would just fucking die. Part 3 is, I feel, where the game really kind of fucks up. Even before the Blood Pact gets introduced, I think that the game does not do a great job of, how do I phrase this? Ike and Micaiah are diametrically opposed morally and also where they land on battle lines. I think that the way that, let's ignore the fact that Micaiah's the second coming of Anthony Kiedis and is trying to fuck a 14-year-old as soon as she sets sights on him. Let's ignore that part for now. That's not what I'm trying to get at here. The game wants you to understand where Micaiah is coming from. Whether it's actually successful at that is something we will discuss later. What I think the game kind of fails at is that these two characters are opposed to each other and in Act 4 they need to be working together. I think that this whole collision and like moving forward is something that the game really does fumble, and it ends up having to use the Blood Pact. That's the main issue with that, and it's that I think the Blood Pact is sort of like a crystallized representation of why the Blood Pact is like a crystallized representation of why the game fails at some points in the story. Ike and Micaiah should be genuinely hating each other, and Micaiah does hate Ike for like the lion's share of Act 3, but I think that they're like, okay, well, we do need to make them work together, and I don't want her to actually hate Ike because that's kind of bad press, so let's just do it via a shitty plot device. Not a fan. I think that you should be able to write people that hate your main character for justifiable reasons, and Ike and Micaiah should dislike each other, and we should not be using the Blood Pact as like a plot device to make it work. I just think that it could have been handled in a way that's a bit more interesting. Unfortunately, I think that they got lost in the sauce of the shonen formula a bit too much. It would have been a really good opportunity to make the story a bit more mature on that front as well, because I mean, let's be real here, like the Act 1 of Radiant Dawn is about like colonization and its effects on a socioeconomic environment. Like it's fairly heady stuff for like a 12-year-old to be playing. I just think that the way that the game handles the Daein army and its existence is a little bit sloppy. And by Act 4, the game's like, okay, but like we are going to be doing like a Xenoblade thing. Okay, I think this is way too loud. Hold up, let me just turn this down a little bit. Okay, by Act 4, the game's like, okay, I get that all this shit was going on, but the world is collapsing. We're going to do a sick-ass Xenoblade moment where you got to fight God now. And to be fair, the sick-ass Xenoblade moment where you have to fight God fucking owns. The lead-up into it is badass. Like, Part 3 Endgame is like... I have actual screenshots. Let me see if I can find them. Oh, I got banned from the server, so never mind. I have actual screenshots of me, like, freaking out. I love the heavy guitar. What song is that? This is A River of Despair from Binding of Isaac. Where was I? Fuck, I forgot. I have footage, I have screenshots of me, like, freaking out when I saw the number in the top right. I was like, what the fuck is going on? The number's going up as I kill people. What does this mean? And when Part 4 hit, I was fucking floored. I think on an objective level, if you fully analyze the plot of Radiant Dawn, there are points where it definitely falters. But I think it's genuinely disingenuous to not act like the game fucking owns. It's just cool, dude. Like, it's no Cold Steel, it's no Trails of Cold Steel 3, but it fucking rules. I think it's just good. Like, if you want a badass Fire Emblem... this is another reason why I think Radiant Dawn is really good as a sequel to Path of Radiance, because it extends beyond what you think Path of Radiance sets you up for. Like, you get a tier 3 class as opposed to the tier 1 and 2 classes you had earlier on. You get to go to the countries that you did previously go to, like Goldoa. You get to see characters that sort of were just like mentioned earlier on. You get to learn more about the Black Knight. All that shit fucking rules. The Blood Pact is absolutely like a black spot on the otherwise clean record of Radiant Dawn. But let's not act like every other story in this fuck-ass series does not have way more black spots on it as well. Okay? Let's not act like that's not also what the series that we're talking about. As a result, I think it's going into Kino. What the fuck is this? Oh, is this like delineation between Gen 1 and Gen 2? What the fuck? Hold up. Oh, it's the original Fire Emblem TCG. Okay. I was just wondering what this was, and it turns out it's the original Fire Emblem TCG. I've not played that. I've not played. Well, I played a little bit of Starry Saga 1, but I didn't finish it. I haven't played a significant amount of any of these. Let's move to Shadow Dragon. I want to like this game so much. I want to like this game so much. I want this game. You have no idea how much I wish this game was good. But it's just not. Like, I just don't think it's good. I just think that this game really, it might even be worse than FE6, honestly. This game really falters on every single possible category. Number one, okay. Let's talk about OST first of all, because I think FE11 OST. Now, the OST itself sounds good. However, you need to understand that this game is remaking something from, like, the 90s. I just realized I did misspelled god-awful. This game is remaking something from the 90s. You can't keep the same number of songs that you had in the previous version of the... Like, FE1, the FE1 has, I think, one regular map theme, one map theme for endgame, one map theme that plays when you're winning, and then enemy phase music. That just doesn't cut it in a modern Fire Emblem game. When this game came out, there is no excuse for there to be as little music as there was. Let's talk about this, right? FE11, hold up. I need to look up what the list of music was, because I forget the exact names for this. Okay, so this game, they do not a terrible job at it. There's 3 map themes for every chapter that's not endgame. So we have the time to act. Let me see if I can find it. The time to act. This one. This is the classic one. Everybody knows this one. This is just the remake of the FE1 first map theme. That's fine. That's totally fine. Well, actually, I don't think that's quite true, because it's like FE1. Hold up. I think actually this is a remake. There's FE1 has a banger enemy phase theme, and I don't remember FE1 OST. I don't remember which one is play phase. This is. And then what's the enemy phase theme? It feels like kind of like a mix. Then you have For Liberty. This song. This song's kind of a banger. I'm not even gonna hold you. This song kind of fucks. This plays for like 4 chapters, and then you have A Hero's Destiny. Where the hell is it? Why is it like split across the goddamn OST? Good songs. Good songs. Certified good songs. We have to accept that that's certified good music. But like that's it. And we also have to be real on the fact that the endgame music in FE1 fucking sucks ass. It's not good. The only good part is that's the only good part of FE1 endgame music. There is another banger that you could theoretically listen to made for this game. This one right here. It's a good song. Unfortunately, that's only for the prologue chapters, which you only have access to if you play on normal mode. So already we're sort of off to a bad start in the sense that this game doesn't have a lot of music in it, and the chapters are pretty long. Like, these chapters are not short. They take like several... I think that a game for its entire 24 chapter main game campaign, having 3 songs is not a good idea, especially when the first song is there for 12 chapters. Like, I just think that it's not, maybe you could get away with 4 songs, like 6 chapters, you switch the music, I think that's fine. However, I do think that that's already, like, not a good, it's not a good first impression. That's the OST section, okay? That we're done with talking about the OST and why I feel like it fails to deliver on what it was trying to do. Number 2. How the game looks. Anybody that's played this game, let's not mince words here. The game looks ugly as shit. Game looks ugly as shit. Like, well, let's not mince words here. This is the fucking ugliest game in the series. Oh my god, this game is chopped. The character, I don't know, if you guys haven't seen what Marth looks like in this game, you need to look at what Marth looks like. He looks like a fat fucking chud in this game. I don't know what the hell they were smoking when they made Marth's portrait in FE11. He looks not good, G. They fixed it in FE12, same with Merrick, but Merrick doesn't look that bad in this game. The colors are super washed out, and the game has like these really like clay figure aesthetics that just don't work. And in the combat animations, there are these like little shitty ass 3D models that just do not do the game any favors whatsoever. Number 3, gameplay mechanics. Let's talk about the gameplay mechanics, not actually how the game plays. I think this game does actually a pretty good job with the gameplay mechanics. Forging is obviously overpowered, but the mechanic itself is fun. Getting yourself powerful weapons and the fact that you can forge PRFs is just fun. Other mechanics like free reclassing, not a good mechanic. I'm just going to say, I don't think that's a good mechanic. Allowing for more class homogeneity is really not a smart idea. And it's obviously going to create a more over-centralized meta. Every single time you see free reclassing, it ends up making the game super homogenous. Especially with the lack of enemy class type in FE11. It makes it so that you're just using Lance classes for the most part, because the Axe classes kind of suck. Next up... Oh my god, let me talk about that. Let me turn this shit back on. I do think that... How do I describe this? There's like let's talk about the weapon design. Weapon design in this game overall is pretty decent. I like the Tome PRF weapon design where, like for example, Linda can use Aura regardless of her weapon rank, and Merrick can use, what's it called? Excalibur regardless of his weapon rank, but, any male mage can use Excalibur and any female mage can use Aura, but they require higher weapon ranks. I think that's actually a pretty interesting mechanic, and I think that's fairly reasonably well designed. The sheer access of warp stabs in this game means that you need to design this game around that, and it is not designed around that. Now let's talk about what it actually feels like playing the game. Here's what it feels like to play the game. You boot up the game, you play a chapter, it's a varying level of difficulty depending on how hard your difficulty is. You get a couple kills with units, you get a level up, and you get kicked in the balls. And you go, oh my god, that was a terrible level up, whatever. I guess I'll move on. And then you continue onwards, you get a couple more kills, you get another level up, you get kicked in the balls again. What the fuck was that, dude? I got 2 shitty level ups in a row. You continue onwards, you get kicked in the balls again every level up. Every single level up, you're gonna get kicked in the balls unless it's exactly Wolfer's Edgar. Or like, Sita's speed and skill level ups, I guess. I just don't think that it's acceptable in a, like, leveling up, like, newsflash, buddy, leveling up stats is fun. Fire Emblem is a game where you have varying stats, leveling up stats, a bunch of stats on each level up is fun. It's just fun. I think this game's really egregious because there's some units in this game that have worse growths than they did in FE1. And that's just not acceptable, especially because the mechanical environment is totally different. You can't, in a game where you have imported shit that does not exist in FE1, stuff like brave weapons, forgeable PRFs, and PRFs, a lot of PRFs, like Wing Spear didn't exist in FE1. Like, a lot of this shit just doesn't exist in the previous games. And I think that, like, in a world where you're putting new shit in, you need to also design according to it, and the game just does not do a good job of designing to it. Difficulty design. Oh my god, does this game have dog shit difficulty design. Like, the way... I think that giving the enemies forged weapons is fair in terms of difficulty. Brave weapons on enemies is frustrating, but I understand where they're coming from. I think it's reasonable. What I will not accept is the sheer amount of stat inflation. I'm sorry, it's not good game design to make the enemies so fucking strong that the only reasonable way to deal with them is to just warp skip maps. It's not a smart idea to make every single enemy so fucking strong that the only way to realistically one-hit KO them is wing spear one-hit KOs. It's just not good design. Also, why the fuck does my main character at cap speed get doubled by the final boss he's meant to kill? Are you stupid? Like, just think for a second, man. It's Marth supposed to be having his glow up after he promotes, and well, he doesn't even promote in this game. That's another thing. You don't get to feel promotion on that. You get to skilly issue on that point. I've beat this game on hard 5. I've Iron Man this game on hard 5. It's not a hard game. It just sucks. You get replacement units as much as you want. So regardless of what you do, you're just... And this game also introduced a bunch of, like, quality of life, like items being deposited in the convoy when you die. So you're gonna be able to beat the game no matter what. It's just gonna feel like dog shit. It doesn't make the game harder. It just makes it suck. Be realistic with the world that we're living in here. Oh my god, like, FE11 is so fucking frustrating and not in an interesting way at all. It's very clearly trying to position itself as a sleek new entry in the Fire Emblem franchise because it's got, like, a bunch of different quality of life we just did not have until now. Enemy phase skip, items depositing the convoy when you die, like a bunch of, like, map saves. Oh my god, this game has so much cool shit in it that feels like it's designed to make you have fun, but they forgot to make the game fun. Like, they forgot to make the game fun. Like, did you forget the part where you have to actually, like make the game fun? This is, and I thought that I was just being a hater about this. Genuinely, I thought that, for the longest time, I thought that I maybe just hated the FE1 campaign, and I was just being a hater and a contrarian piece of shit. And then I played the ROM hack, the Fates Shadow Dragon remake ROM hack, which puts the Shadow Dragon campaign in the Fates engine. Now, admittedly, a lot of this is not applicable because there's, like, it isn't the Fates engine, so there is some pair, but, like, pair-up is, like, severely nerfed in that version. And there's still a bunch of the, like, silly shit that FE11 does. Like, random low percent crit on your units is something that FE11 has all the time, and Fates Shadow Dragon also has that. The unit stats are not that high. Enemy stats are high, and they do get forged weapons, and they get, like, unique forged weapons. But, like, the game, they didn't forget to make the game fun. You could make this game fun. They just forgot to do it in this one. I think, I will say, that being said, every single time I play this game, the first, like, 20 chapters is, like, dragging my ball sack through a field of glass. However, the last, like, 4 chapters kind of fuck. Like, I don't know what happens towards the end. Like, the last 4 chapters kind of own. Somehow, like, admittedly, I will admit, shit does tend to sort of sort itself out towards the end of this game. But you do have to play 20 chapters of dog shit up until then. Also, this game is guided maps, and the way you get guided maps is killing off your units. Shut the fuck up, man. Who thought that was a good idea? I'm not gonna say... This game is, like... It's a marginal upgrade to FE1. That's how I would describe this. But I just don't think the way you play this game is that conducive to fun. Thankfully, they took a lot of the shit that was wrong with this game and they just fixed it in New Mystery. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Chris ruins the plot, Chris ruins the plot. Shut the fuck up, man. If you care so much about Chris, go play Deltarune or something. That'll give you a Chris that you can actually care about. This game fucks. I don't know how to describe this in the sense that this game gets to the essence of what makes FE3 so silly. Like, the staves are just ridiculously busted. Like, you have the Again staff, which is nerfed from its FE3 counterpart, but is still busted to shit. the units in this game actually have good growth rates. Oh my god, who'd have considered that? I mean, let me put it this way. Everybody that's saying that they like FE11, if your perspective, like, you can like FE11, but you are not normal for it. There's a reason that there's a big FE12 Lunatic Reverse Soyo draft community that thrives to this day, and FE11 does not have an ongoing community like that. It's because people don't want to fucking play the game. FE12 is a fun game to play because all the units have, like, fairly respectable growths. There's a bunch of stats. This is the first advent of stat stacking in Fire Emblem. Star shards combined with the rainbow tonic and like bond boosters and shit like that make it so you can make units like have stopgap measures for if you get kind of screwed on level ups. There's a bunch of boosters you can buy if you beat the game on lunatic mode that you can like fix shitty level ups. The game has a ton of like different powerful tools available to you, and it removes warp on lunatic, which I'm not too much of a fan of, but I understand why they did it. But that still makes the game totally playable. The free reclassing in this game actually feels like it provides value because the challenge exists in a way that I'm not going to act like you use all the classes in this game. You are most of the time just using the same, like, 6 classes in New Mystery. That's better than using the same 2 classes in FE11, and you actually have to, like, you know, think about what you're doing in this game. Whoa, what a concept, right? One thing I do kind of have an issue with in this game is that your unit quality is really front-loaded. You get Katria, Pallas, Sirius, Chris, Marth, like, super early. The later joins kind of feel shafted as a result. I'm not too much of a fan of that. But that's like a game design critique in a game that clearly isn't caring about game design as much as you think it does. Like, the kind of design this game concerns itself with is this map tightly set up? And the answer is usually yes. It's not concerned about, are my units properly set up in a way that they're all equally viable? It doesn't give a shit about that. It's like, use whatever units you want. The maps are going to be the same, and they're going to be designed in a reasonable way. I don't know, I just think that FE12 is just a fun fucking game. It also helps that it's got like the FE8 thing where the campaign is fairly short. But, I mean, if you boot up like an FE12 Lunatic run, you are not going to be getting through it in like a reasonable amount of time. So, but I have booted up FE12 Hard 1 a lot of times where I'm just trying to have a game that I play to have fun. It's fine. And the music, oh my god, the music goes fucking crazy. It fucks, man. I don't know what else to tell you. I enjoy how speed caps are handled more in FE12. I think the caps are a little bit of a crapshoot in this game, but it's not outrageous. It works. Everybody needs to glaze this game more now. I don't know why the fuck there's been such a turnaround on Awakening. Like, I feel like, okay, this is gonna be mean to say, but that's why I'm saying it. I feel like we as a society have forgotten that we play video games to have fun. And Awakening fucking owns. I'm sorry. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. I'm not gonna apologize for liking Awakening, because Awakening is fucking fun. I need you to... Okay, let me just paint a fucking picture for you here. Okay? You boot up the game, yada yada, you go to the first chapter, you meet Crom, and then you go... And this is the shit that starts playing. You start at the chapter and you go, this is the shit that's playing. And Robin does some, you fuck around, you beat the enemies with Frederick. You go to the next chapter, the literal next chapter, mind you. Where the fuck is it? The literal, well, no, that's the wrong one. That's the literal next chapter is this song right here. This is also a fucking nuclear level banger. You're in the fucking, you need to understand that the way this game works is you boot up the game, you meet Crom, you beat a chapter, the fucking world starts burning, there's zombies falling from the sky, who the fuck is that masked person? And then you start going You start fighting in the forest, Sully shows up, you beat the chapter, and you go, holy fuck, I don't know what the hell that was. I guess we're just gonna move on from that. And then you go on to the next chapter. I think the next chapter has, duty? Where the fuck is it? Oh my god, bro. Hold up. I'm about to go to like a fucking website that has this shit. KH Insider. Thank you, KH Insider. No, Chapter 2 also has Prelude, which is fine. But I will say Chapter 2 is like the worst map in the game, but I digress. Then after that, you go to the next chapter and you have fucking this song playing. Where the hell is it? If I can find it. This song starts playing and you're like, oh, hold up. Oh. I didn't know they had that like that. Every single song in this game is a fucking earworm. And we have to accept that. You're on chapter 3, and I'm pretty sure chapter 3 is, let me think about this. I think chapter 3 is the ice, the fort, I think. Yeah, it's the fort. So this chapter is, you know, there's like your first introduction to like terrain and stuff, the effective weaponry, people that can use different weapon types, a bunch of different shit. This game is so fucking good at like being a video game that you can just pick up and learn how to play. Oh my god, it's so fucking fun. And then you get another chapter with duty, and then you go on to chapter 5, I think is, chapter 4 is, what is chapter 4? Chapter 4, literally chapter 4, you start fighting Lucina, aka Marth, and you're like, and then Crom's like, I fight for my fate, and who taught you how to fight? My father! That shit goes fucking crazy. Fire Emblem Awakening is, I have a hard time describing this. Fire Emblem Awakening is the most shonen media product ever created. It is, you need to see this as a Weekly Shonen Jump story, in the sense that it's gonna be awesome at the start, they're gonna kind of lose the plot somewhere in the middle, and then they're gonna clinch it back at the end. This is a perfect representation of an early 2010s Shonen Jump manga series, where at least one part of it is gonna be a little bit fumbled, but as a whole, it's gonna be awesome. There's so many songs in this game, and every single one fucks. I love playing this game so much. Awakening is not, I will say, on the higher end, Awakening can become a little bit miserable. I'm one of the few people that actually kind of respects Lunatic Plus, and I would like, you know what, if anybody is watching this, can you please try to implement the Lunatic Plus skills into hard mode? Because I think that game would actually be a lot more fun than Lunatic Plus. Every single problem I have with Lunatic Plus is something that Lunatic itself introduces into the game. The fact that enemy stats are super inflated, your combats in the early game are super unreliable, all that shit sucks. I think that the best part about Lunatic Plus is actually the skills. The worst part is everything else. I just think this game fucking owns, dude. The fact that it introduces the Gen 2 again, and it does it through time travel. You get to travel the entire continent. It's like a callback to FE1 and FE11, but if you don't know anything about that, you don't give a shit about that. You even go to like Valentia and you get to learn a little bit more about it. I think it's just fucking awesome. Like, I would put this game genuinely either good or great. Awakening is one of those games that I don't see Awakening as like a highbrow media product. I see Awakening as a game that I put on and I go, all right, it's time to play some Awakening. And I play and I listen to the music, and eventually Robin gets so strong that they can just solo the game, and I go, what did you expect, buddy? It's fucking Awakening. And I just crank up the OST, skip the enemy phase, and I just have a good fucking time with it. And I feel like that's the best way to experience Awakening. Dual Strike being chance-based is so fucking cringe. Okay, let's spend some time talking about the mechanics. The mechanics in this game are not refined in any way, shape, or form. The reclassing mechanics in this game kind of suck and are tedious as hell. The weapon balance is all over the place, and I think that it's kind of shittily done. The fact that Dual Strike and pair up is so fucking overpowered in both an offensive and defensive manner makes it pretty over centralizing outside of the very, very early game where you need as many actions as possible. I think there's a lot of issues with it. The availability of but like there's also a lot of cool shit in this game. You get like rescue access so early, and rescue is so powerful in this game because your staff range is huge that you can like use rescue a ton. Olivia's also there. Like it's just a fun time. I remember playing Awakening once, getting stuck on a map and deciding to just undeploy everyone except Robin and Cromb and just soloed the rest of the game with Cromb. They're not gonna like me saying this. It kind of fucking owns that you get to do that. Like, Awakening is a game that you decide to play until you say, okay, I'm done with playing this game, and then you just pair Robin and Cromb together and just beat the game. Like, that's unfortunately kind of valid. Like, you have to accept that's kind of a valid way to design a game. Like, you could say, like, a lot of times Fire Emblem games are like, oh man, I had Engage runs into this problem all the time, where I'll be like 60% of the way through the run and Engage, and I'm like, okay, well, I've kind of had my fill of this game. I kind of don't want to play anymore. And then I go, oh, and there's like 8 more maps left, and they're the hardest maps in the game, and they took a lot of time. And I'm like, ugh. You don't really have to worry about that with the Awakening. You can just like send your Crobin forward and just accept that the game's over. I think that's totally fine. If I recall correctly, Heroes and Warriors 1 came out in between Fates and Echoes. And that's why Crobin is the Fire Emblem power couple. This after, like, the Yaoi tier list definitely goes Crobin at the top in terms of how pushed it is. After that, like, Ike Soren, and then, like, the others just occupy the rest of the space. Staff Falcons have never been better. It feels fucking great to use stabs in this game. Using staves in this game is awesome. There's also a lot of, like, fun little stuff, like the ward staff being, like, ranged. It's just a fun game to play. Warp skipping does similar things, I guess. Yeah, like, what's the functional difference between rescue, like Crobin solo in Awakening, and warp skipping the entire the final third of the game in FE1? In FE11, there's just no functional difference, except maybe you use your ballisticians in FE11. Oh, wow, look at this guy. You're using a ballistician because the enemy stats are so high that you need to chip down the enemy first. Wow, what a concept. Like, let's stop fucking around here. I will have to beat you to death or kiss you lovingly, depending on your hero's tiering. I just saw it was on there. Oh, God. Well, I guess I'm looking forward to it, or looking forward to it, respectively. I'm trying to figure out how I contextualize this next upcoming section. Okay, let's talk about Fire Emblem Fates. Fire Emblem Fates, for better or for worse, is a sequel, is a spiritual successor to Fire Emblem Awakening. We have to accept that. A lot of the mechanical environment in Awakening and Fates is very similar. There are a ton of differences, but we have to accept that a lot of Fates' DNA comes from Awakening. Like, if you put that shit on, you are the father, basically. I think we have to look at these games within the context of that. What is Awakening's system lending itself to? Well, it's lending itself to a highly customizable army that can support a few really powerful units through a bunch of different avenues. You can rally, you can pair up, you can dance and give stats, you can do a bunch of different, you can support your units in a bunch of different ways. The fact of the matter is that customizability is a big deal in Fire Emblem Awakening and Fates, or at least that's what they're trying to do. Unfortunately, Awakening, it kind of falls flat. The customizability section falls kind of flat, except for like higher difficulties where you do use your rallies and stuff like that. But shockingly, I think that it falls even further flat in Birthright. I think Birthright is just a terrible, terrible game it doesn't play to any of Fates' advantages at all. Let's just start off with this blanket statement. All 3 of the Fates plots suck ass. I'm not gonna bother mincing words over, oh, one of them is a little bit better than the other, this one's a little bit better than... No, they all fucking suck. Let's just move on. Like, let's not... It doesn't matter. The marginal difference in the quality of the Fire Emblem Fates plot lines is not gonna be a big game changer in how I rank these games. Like, let's be realistic here. So, like, that's the non-factor for all of them. And also, the OST fucks in all three of them to an absurd degree. So that's also not really a factor worth discussing, because all three of them have insanely good OSTs. Awakening with the Fates engine would be the greatest game ever. I don't know. I think you'd have to do some adjustments to it, but yeah. Truly so glad I gave the game a shot for myself, because I knew the game was for me despite the public bashing it hard. We're gonna talk about public perception of Fates when we get to Revelation, but let's talk about Birthright for now. My problem with Birthright is that it does not play to any of Fire Emblem Fates' strengths, except for the Awakening style, pair somebody into Ryoma and listen to the music stuff. However, if you want to do that, the late game of Revelation lets you do the exact same thing, so I feel like it kind of gets outcompeted on that front. Number one, we talked a lot about customizability. Unfortunately, customizing your units isn't really that good in Birthright. For example, Birthright classes, you don't really have access to a lot of rallies in Birthright, because a lot of the rallies are on Conquest classes. You have access to Rally Magic, Rally Speed, Rally Luck. But not like the Magic Speed Luck Rally builds are frequently frail enough that it's not like a build that you can rely on to deal with literally every single enemy on a map. Like Rinka, for example, sort of benefits from a Rally Magic and Rally Luck, but she doesn't really care about the speed because she's never going to double to begin with. The weapon access is kind of a shit show, because the best weapons are tomes. Like, the coolest weapons in this game are the Horse Spirit, the Calamity Gate, and the coolest weapons that aren't like something that all weapon types have access to, because like the dual weapons are fucking awesome, but every single weapon type has a dual weapon, so it's not really like an apples to apples comparison. In this game, the best weapons are other than, like, I'd say, like, the lances. So, like, the lances actually do a pretty good job. So I think the lance metagame in Birthright is actually pretty cool. Like, Bolt Naginata, Guard Naginata, Dual Naginata, all that entire situation, I think that is actually pretty interesting. Other than that, though, it's like the practice katana, and then all of the shurikens, and then a bunch of the tomes. In a situation like this, it further compounds on the already very 1-2 heavy metagame of Birthright because of the sheer enemy density, and makes it even worse. The enemy density in this game is so fucking high on higher difficulties that it does not lend itself to literally anything except just juggernauting. I don't know how else to put it. That's the only thing you can do in this game to get through it within a reasonable amount of time, is juggernaut. Moving a bunch of, especially stuff like Camilla's map, where like you kind of will get punished if you leave your frail units behind and like sort of let them get clipped. So you just end up undeploying your frail units, and now you just have an army of like Ryoma and Korin and like maybe Rinka if she's like buffed out of her fucking mind. I don't like that. All three Fates games have kind of a centralized cast. I'm not gonna bash Birthright for that, but I do think that it's really bad at setting expectations and rewarding them. The first third of Birthright is like maps that are pretty decent but a little boring. There's obviously, you know, the Birth Route map. I'm quite fond of Paper. Horse Spirit Go Weak. Yeah, that's a big issue in this game, is that the Horse Spirit is so fucking strong. The cast in all three games is centralized, so I don't have an issue with that. I mean, I kind of have an issue with that, but it's not that big of a deal. Fuck, I lost thought of where I was. Give me a second. Yeah. The first third of Birthright is maps that are exactly okay, but a little bit boring. Up until about Reyna's Join chapter, I think the maps are fairly reasonable. There's a little bit more route than there needs to be, but that's just Birthright as a whole. The actual gameplay is surprisingly decent because your units have not gotten to the point where they level up. Once you get Reyna, the middle third of the game is, I think, the real meat and potatoes, which is where, like, you can immediately get to, like, the juggernauting part, but actually, it is slightly more efficient and more fun to, like nickel and dime the shit out of the map to, like, get more value out of the units that you have that are kind of being overcompensated for. And then, like, you get Ryoma, and the games are like, okay, just deploy a few powerful units and just beat the fuck out of the map. But then you get to, like, Nor, and there's a bunch of maps that really punish you for like an over-centralized party in a way that feels kind of antithetical. I've talked about this before in the worst maps, but I think the worst map in Birthright is Chapter 27 because the Pillar Men make it so that all of your best 1 to 2 range strategies are kind of fucked over. Like, you have to prepare for them, and if you're not prepared for them, you're just gonna have to lower the difficulty and go in on the game. I don't think this game plays to any of its strengths, except for OST, like I said. The most important point of the horse bit is that it proves that Birthright Odin got laid. Well, that's advantageous for the Wattpad metagame, but like that's not what we're discussing here. I would say, like, on a fundamental level, I think Birthright has so many issues, I kind of want to put it in really bad, but, like, I think that slightly, for me, I love Fates, and as a result, seeing Birthright be so bad hurts me more than the average person. So, you know, your mileage may vary, but for me, I'm going to put it in pretty bad. Or, like, really bad. What else do you want me to put it? Fire Emblem Conquest is the game that I played the most, and it's the game that I've gotten the most fun out of. This entire channel is built on the back of Fire Emblem Fates Conquest. I think it's a testament to its quality as a game that it has an active community, the likes of which almost no other Fire Emblem game has. Like, go to YouTube and look up Fire Emblem games and see which games have a thriving community for that game only. And you'll see that, like, Fates is up there because people like playing Fates. The fact of the matter is that I think Conquest is, like, a nice middle ground of, like, every unit is not only viable, but has something, like, a little bit, at least a tiny little bit of a niche that almost only they can do. The way that enemy layouts are designed in this game is one of a kind, and genuinely even, I think Engage almost reaches it, but it's not quite able to reach it. But it's almost there, but, like, Fates Conquest is, like, so head and shoulders above the rest of the series in terms of map design, it's absurd. Like, I would say, like, if I genuinely had to be, like, I think that probably out of the top 25 maps in the series, at least 10 of them are from Conquest. Like, it's crazy how many good maps there are in this game. The music also fucks, and also I think that there's a slightly better selection than Birthright, but not by much, because Birthright has tracks that have higher highs, but I think Conquest is more, like, consistent. Oh, I will say, there's one thing that Birthright and Revelation have over Conquest, it's that you get access to Azura earlier, and Azura is a ton of fun in this game. Azura is probably the most fun dancer to use, except maybe Raphael. Raphael is a little bit more fun to use, I have to admit. Nyx has a niche? Yeah, no, Nyx has a bit of a niche. Like, you can early promote her, and she's actually, like, shockingly good on Chapter 10. And also, she becomes, like, a good backpack for a magical unit later on. Like, you would be surprised with how much you can get out of niche, how much you can get out of Nyx if you are totally willing to accept that she will never be a good combat unit. Like, you can squeeze some value out of her for, like, 4 or 5 chapters. It's not a big niche, but it exists. It's so hard to explain why I love this game so much. There is so much in the Fates mechanical system that is so fucking smart. Like, shit that they just never thought of before. They were in their bag in this game. The way that effective weapons work in Fates is the best implementation of effective weapons we've had to date, and they keep trying to one-up it, and they just need to accept that they won't be able to one-up it, and they just need to go back to it. For those who don't know, the way that Fire Emblem Fates' effective weapons work is that they're like really overstated. Like, if you compare an Armor Slayer and a Steel Sword, the Armor Slayer is going to have better stats. However, if you use it against an enemy that it's not effective against, it takes a -4 might, -10 hit penalty. So that allows them to make the weapons really aggressively statted while also keeping the weapon balance relatively sane. I think it's a great fucking concept. We need more games with gauges. True, and I think that Fortune's Weave is going to give us more gauges, so, you know, we'll accept it. There's definitely some rough spots. Obviously, the story fucking sucks, but, you know, that's life. So they made the game fun, so that's all I can really ask for. Another thing that I do think is seriously an issue with this game is weapon balance. I do think that they kind of cooked a little bit too hard on weapon balance. And also, this game is the first game in the series that really suffers from, like, My Castle adjacent mechanics, where it's like, oh yeah, we're assuming you're playing this game online, and so there's a bunch of mechanics tied to that. I think that's a genuinely terrible idea. I really hope they stop doing that as much. It seems like Fortune Sweep should have less of that than Engage, but, like, I think Fates and Engage are the two games that really suffer from that the most. The way that, like, you need to get materials to do cooking, and cooking is, like, RNG. The whole, like, My Castle setup is just not good. That's one thing that I definitely think that this game could use a fix on, but I digress. At the end of the day, I think that if you're looking for a tightly designed Fire Emblem game that's trying to push you to your limits without ever actually truly being unfair, Fire Emblem Conquest is the only pick. There's no ambush spawns in the game. The game, like, if you ever feel like you're stuck, you can always lower the difficulty, so, like, soft locks are much less likely. And if you want to play this game on Lunatic mode, but you don't want to spend 8 years on it, you can put it on, like, Lunatic Casual and just use turn saves. If you're playing these games on casual mode, you get access to saves every turn. I think that's fucking awesome. Fates is also the land of the gimmicks. Like, every map has, like, some unique little gimmick to it. I think Revelation goes a bit more into it. Like, for example, what's the gimmick of Chapter 18? Like, yeah, it's a timed kill boss map, but that's not really a gimmick. It's just that, like, it's just like a map concept, really. Like, stuff like Chapter 19, Chapter 20, Chapter 21, Chapter 22 to some degree. Like, the rest of the game has gimmicks, but, like, there's some maps that just don't have gimmicks. And, yeah. And some of the gimmicks are better than others, and there's some, like, difficulty scaling issues. Like, Chapter 26 Lunatic is fucking awful. Chapter 26 Hard Mode is a little bit too easy. I just think that it kind of, like, cooks a little bit too hard towards the end of the game. Thankfully, again, if you feel like you're stuck, you can just lower the difficulty. That's such a big deal in a game like this. I think it's awesome. What else can I talk about? That's my wife right there, Leo. That's my wife. I mean, I don't know what else to say about him. I love him. I like a lot of the characters in this game. I think it's cool. There's a lot of different avenues of approach. Reclassing, the way that classes work is that there absolutely are some classes that are just straight up better, like Malignite, like Wyvern Lord, like Bow Knight, like Master Ninja, like Mechanist, like Kinshi Knight. However, because the reclass system is a little bit limited, other than your Corrin, who has access to whatever class you want them to have access to at any point in time, you do have to kind of work for it. Like, you can put any unit into any class and, like, roll up with an army of, like, 7 Wyverns, but you need to actually plan for it and set that up ahead of time, and I think that's really smart. The Replicate map was awesome. In this game, I think the Replicate map is kind of meh. Where the Replicate... This list is insanely based so far. I'm glad. Thank you. I think you're the only person that has said that they like this list so far. Oh, one more thing that I think the Fates as a whole could improve on is telling you what the fuck things actually mean. Like, the fact that, like, if you, let's say you have, like, Arthur, right? And he gets Great Knight access from Effie Marriage. And then he gets, like, Cavalier access from, I think he has Silas A+. Let's just assume he has Silas A+. If he goes into Great Knight now, he will get the skills from both Knight and Cavalier because he has access to it from 2 paths. Stuff like that isn't really told to you. So it ends up being a bit of a wiki game. But I feel like even then, without proper understanding of the deep mechanics, I think you can have a good time with this game. It's just that there's a lot of depth here. Like, you can actually, like, sink your teeth into Fire Emblem Fates for a long-ass time. Like, literally a month ago, I found out that the game treats your replica and your main unit as different for the context of custom animation. So, if you set your animations to custom and you turn your unit's animations on, it doesn't turn your replica's animations on. Like, this is cool stuff you find about this game, anyways. Arthur's Heart Seal is Cav anyway. That's right. That's why you would get access to the Cav skills. Because he has inherent access to it. let's talk about Revelation. I love the Fire Emblem community. They've done so much for me. They've helped me stay sane at times where I felt like I would not be able to make it through my life. They gave me something to work towards. That being said, a lot of y'all are fucking stupid. Like, what the, like, I'm sorry, the echo chamber around Fire Emblem Fates Revelation is dumb as shit, and it has taken us so much fucking time to work out of that rut. The discourse around Fire Emblem Fates from release to like mid-pandemic was so ass. It got to the point where, hold on. Let me see if I can find this. FE Echoes trailer. No, this is not the one. This is not the one.
Are you ready?
Fucking, if I can find it, I will. Come on.
And the conflict will come to life even in Fire Emblem gameplay.
God damn it! If I can't find it, fuck. All right, fine. Editor, please put this up. Basically, in the trailer for Fire Emblem Echoes, there was a line where they were like, "Paired up units and newfangled strategies have no place in Valentia." Like even Fire Emblem instances themselves was like talking shit about Fates and Awakening. Like the discourse around these games was like so fucking rancid, dude. I genuinely, for like a solid 8 years, and I think this perspective still like carries on to this day, but I think it's slightly lessened in its view. For the longest time, the prevailing wisdom was Fates only exists as a joke. Like, you talk about Fates, and Fates is the punchline to a joke. You go, man, this game, this shit is bad. At least it's not as bad as Fates. Oh, yuck. And the dumbest motherfucker on the planet would slap their fucking fat belly and laugh at it. Oh my fucking god. Genuinely, the discourse around this game made me not want to try it for the longest time. And then I remember trying, like, FE12 for the first time, and I was like, this is the game you guys are talking shit about? This is a fucking awesome game. And I was like, that's when I learned not to trust what the mainstream Fire Emblem community says. At that time, they were just so fucking reductive. Oh my god, I remember a lot of this came from the Fire Emblem subreddit and how like disgustingly GBA core it was. I remember that Chess Jumble was the first person to really make a fully commentated Fire Emblem Fates 0% growths LTC on YouTube. And let me tell you, the gameplay was extremely good. The gameplay was extremely good for the time. I think that it was very polished. And it was co-commentated by a mod for the Fire Emblem subreddit Discord, Crash Boom Bang. And literally, the entire commentary was, man, this game is so bad. Like, oh my fucking god, it was so rancid. It was genuinely, I tried looking back at it for some, like, strats, and it was so, it made me as a person uncomfortable to watch that, because it was so disingenuous that it just made me feel unwelcome in the community. I'm so glad that we moved past that rhetoric for the most part. Nowadays, people are like, regardless of how you feel, just try the game that you want. Just try these games. See if you like them. If you like them, that's great. We can find, there's probably a community for them that you can talk to them about. If you don't like them, that's fine. We can find you something else. I'm so glad that we moved past this era of, like, just shitting on Fates for no reason. The biggest victim of this is Fire Emblem Fates Revelation. By far, for the longest time, this game was like by far the worst Fire Emblem game, and people didn't even give it a second chance, a second look. I'm sorry? Like, this game is so much better than some dog shit like FE6. Or at the very least, it's better than Birthright. Oh my god. Like... games like FE11, Gaiden, Birthright, FE6, these games are aimless. They don't have a mechanical core tying them together. They don't have something that defines them. They don't have an idea that they're trying to embody. In the same way Revelation does. Revelation says, we are going to give you a shit ton of units, go wild, cowboy, and that's the ethos of Fire Emblem Fates Revelation. And I think that that's super under-respected when, fundamentally speaking, this is so much better than half of the GBA games. Like, we need to stop lying to ourselves. I do think it's because Fates hyped itself a bit more than it could accomplish. That's fair. I do think that, I'm not saying that Insis was totally blameless. The preview content for Fates made it look like the coolest fucking game of all time, and then you played it and the plot sucked ass. And I think that it took a lot of effort to convince people that it's okay to play a Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem Fates is like the modern reason why like people nowadays are a lot more okay with Fire Emblem is a series where what matters the most is whether the game itself is fun. For the longest time, people thought we were like trying to gaslight themselves into thinking that Fire Emblem games were like all about story and stuff. Like, no, man, the game, Fire Emblem always is like prioritized gameplay first a lot of times. Why do you think some of the parts of FE4 is so just ramshackle? Well, it's because the gameplay had to be a little bit of a priority at times. Same with FE7, Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn, FE11, FE1, FE6. Like, all of these games sort of take a priority of gameplay over plot. Some games are able to make an interesting, good enough plot regardless of the gameplay. And that's where, like, Radiant Dawn, Thracia, Path of Radiance come in. But it took a while for people to be willing to, like, interrogate their ideas of what made a Fire Emblem game a Fire Emblem game. I think it's a great game. I'm gonna have to do some refactoring to gaussify the tier list, but I think it's a great game, man. I would, if you like, obviously, I'm not gonna act like this game is for everybody. This game is only for people that really, really like Fire Emblem Fates. If you like Fire Emblem Fates, you will love Fire Emblem Fates Revelation. If you don't like Fire Emblem Fates, you will not like Fire Emblem Fates Revelation. But guess what, bitch? I like Fire Emblem Fates. The development of Fates was incredibly ambitious, but they wound up biting off more than they could chew story-wise. Still, I respect an ambitious failure more than a timid success. Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's funny because the GBA era is mostly like because of nostalgia and they're low-key mid. A lot of people will kill you with hammers for that, but you're legitimately right. So much of our reductive rhetoric about what actually matters in Fire Emblem comes from the GBA community. Every single time, I got banned from the Fire Emblem subreddit Discord because of this, but I don't regret it at all. Every single time they got mad at me, I was just saying, your GBA-centric perspective on what is important in a Fire Emblem game is ruining your ability to have normal conversations with other people. You need to be a bit more realistic about the world that we're living in and accept that efficiency doesn't fucking matter if it's not a good or fun way to play the game. That's what we need to accept in these games, but I don't know, it seems like they don't have any respect for people that actually speak their fucking mind on that server, but I digress. I think Fates also came out at a time where the GBA crowd was reaching adulthood and became more media savvy, so it was the first time they could recognize anime elements in a Fire Emblem game. Oh yeah, man. People that are like Fire Emblem Fates and Awakening are too anime. Oh, go jump off a fucking bridge. God forbid we want a big titty clown murderous cavalier in our game. Oh no, I'm afraid of having too much fun. Like, shut the fuck up. What's afraid, GBA boy? Afraid you might... Hold up. Run it back. What's wrong, GBA boy? Afraid you might like something? Afraid you might feel something. Like, yeah, these characters' designs are goonery, but like, you know, it's a fucking shonen franchise. Like, do you expect the characters to not be sexy? Like, are we being realistic here? It's just that the Minerva, Lena, Marisha era of character design left them behind, so they moved on to newer pastures. Like, these games do a great job of recognizing what made a character hot at the time and appealing to it. Like, the Oneshota market was huge around the time of Path Radiance and Radiant Dawn, so you have Titania being a really important character, you have Petrine being a really important antagonist, Almeida is important in Radiant Dawn, and the older character, younger character dynamic was really popular then, so Mikaya's older, like, shit like that. Like, you just have to accept that they're changing with the times. Fire Emblem as a series is good because it doesn't stay the same. Like, what are we talking about? Fire Emblem Heroes is somehow so much better than everybody gives it credit for, and also so much worse than everybody gives it credit for. Everybody's that's like, this game is super predatory and fucking sucks, is like, buddy, that's not the half of it. This game's so much worse than you could possibly think. And everybody that's like, this game has no redeeming qualities, is like just lying to themselves. I think that the mechanical environment of Heroes was a great testing ground for what could constitute a future Fire Emblem game. There's still a bunch of cool shit in here that we haven't seen that I feel like I hope that we see. Like, again, I talk about this in the skills video, but the skill cooldown system in Heroes fucking owns. The way that they implement Fire Emblem concepts like dodging in a system that doesn't have any room for dodging is really smart. The way that everything is deterministic is good. It's interesting. It's implemented in a way that's smart. I think there was like a solid 6-month period of like peak Fire Emblem Heroes where, yes, it was a gacha game that was predatory, but like the gameplay was fucking cool. It was just like interesting. But then they just like started tripping over themselves and went too far. That's like the 6 months before we got like actually no, it wasn't 6 months. There was like a month-long period before the release of Legendary Sigurd and after the start of that book where we were just getting a new cool mechanic every week. And that little period is like Edison Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, it's a perfect little time capsule where if you could go back and play that, you would realize that this game has a lot more to offer than we're giving it credit for. But unfortunately, that's not the game that we're talking about today. The game Fire Emblem Heroes is not that good. I actually am going to talk a little bit about the story. The story is kind of a mixed bag. Some of the books are good, some of the books are fucking awful, but I have to admit, Book 3 of Fire Emblem Heroes is better than most mainline Fire Emblem plots. There's more meat to Book 3 of Heroes than pretty much everything else in the mainline plot. And people are not going to like me saying this. I'm getting close to the mic to say this because this is important. There is a world where by end of service, Fire Emblem Heroes has like a Marvel Cinematic Universe Stage 4 moment where it all merges together and it ends up becoming fucking cinema. There is a world that exists. I'm not saying we live in that world. I think it's far more likely that we do not live in that world. But there is a world, because, okay, let me put you all on some game if you're not familiar with Heroes. Book 3 of Fire Emblem Heroes is the book about death. It features Alphonse and Veronica. They have like a doomed timeline version called Lif and Thracier, who are trying to destroy our Alphonse and Veronica's world so that they can get their loved ones back. And then eventually it's about them realizing that their loved ones are gone and there's no way to get them back, and they cut it off with like the big bad and they just leave. Over the next few years, they have been like baiting Fire Emblem Heroes players with like a little bit of like a teaser of what Lif and Thracier are like doing in the greater plot. At the end of Book 4, there's like 2 fairies that were important in the plot but sort of just got left behind afterwards because they didn't have anything to do anymore because the big bad was gone. And Lif and Thracier start recruiting them. They're like, come with us. There's like a Valentine's Lif and Thracier banner where they like vague post about what they're doing. Thracier just died in the story? What? Dude, what the fuck? You can't tell me this. Oh my god. Okay, we're gonna have to... But yeah, like, in the Nidavellir book, there's like an insane moment where there's like a meta-narrative where you, as the summoner, start having memories of you as a human being living in like a modernized world. I don't know, there's like a world where like some of this shit comes together and Fire Emblem Heroes, like, Act 3 plotline becomes like the best we've ever seen in history. And you as a player need to be ready for that eventuality. Because there's a world that this exists. I'm gonna put Heroes in the middle range. I think that this game is better and worse than people give it credit for. I think it's kind of mid, but like it's good. I love Alphonse is legitimately one of my favorite main characters in Fire Emblem history. I love Alphonse. Like, you start off and he's like this soft boy guy, and then every single book after book 1, he shows up and he shows up at the start. He's like, okay, there's like some weird shit going on, and you meet the first antagonist, and Alphonse is like, we gotta fucking kill you, dog. It's so fucking funny. Alphonse is no chill. He has no chill whatsoever. He is a fucking demon. I love that guy. He's so fucking awesome. You have to lower Fae for forging bonds, making you play random map 60+9. That is one of the things where, like, forging bonds is one of the most fun things about Fae, but, like, it's grindy as hell, but whatever. Alphonse and Sharena are my favorite lures. Has Sharena done anything since book 4, the fairy one? Because I swear to God, Anna definitely got the backseat in, from what I remember, but, like, I didn't see Sharena do anything in the last little bit that I played. I like the Edison analogy because skills have more text than Endymion now. Yeah, Fae is very like Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, there definitely was a time when you were getting, like, good gameplay, and there's, like, little pockets of good gameplay when there's, like, a perfect meta. Just like how, like, Jush recently was, like, a great meta. Justice Hunters was a great meta in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! But at the end of the day, the way the power creep works makes that the great metas are further and further apart and still inhospitable. She wants CYL, I guess. Dog, unless she's in the main plot, I don't go, fuck. The last important thing I remember doing with Sharena is, like, this weird plotline in book 4 where it's like, oh, she might actually have been, her as a baby might have been replaced by the her we see in the game now, and Sharena might actually be Peony, and we don't know which one is which, and there's, like, some uncertainty about that, which was kind of interesting, but I feel like they kind of fumbled it at the end, whatever. Fire Emblem Warriors 1. I don't know how to tell you this. This was the first Fire Emblem game I owned. This was the Switch before Three Houses came out, and that was the only console I had. And I was like, is there a Fire Emblem game on here? And the only Fire Emblem game on it was Warriors. And I was like, oh, this is a Fire Emblem game. I didn't know much of the series at that point. So I bought the game and I played it. And I was like, what the fuck? This game kind of owns. And I hate to say it, this game kind of fucks. Like, this game, I feel like it makes a few really big missteps. I think that Fire Emblem Warriors is like, let's just do like a best of all worlds bat chest moment where we just have a bunch of nostalgia bombs. I think that it kind of fumbles because there's like 5 MacGuffins in the world of Fire Emblem Warriors. And they give 1 to Marth, which makes sense. They give 1 to Chrom, which makes sense. And then they give 3 to the different Fates cast. I'm sorry. It should have been like Marth, Chrom, Lyn, pick like Ike, and then Corrin. That would have been a lot better as a way to handle this game. Admittedly, they probably didn't have enough material for that. This game runs like dog shit on the 3DS. It runs a little bit better on the Switch. The music fucking rules. The moment-to-moment gameplay is fairly brainless, but kind of fun. The plot is pretty straightforward. Like, Dario's gets, like, turns evil, and it becomes a dragon, and then Rowan and Liliana have to deal with them, yada yada. It's not that interesting. I would say it's a little bad. I think this is a good time to talk about Fire Emblem Cypher. Let's talk about Fire Emblem Cypher. Oh, the remixes did slap. Yeah, if you just wanted a Fire Emblem game, if what you want from a Fire Emblem game is to have a banger album, you got a good banger album. Let's talk about Fire Emblem Cypher. So, as a purveyor and an enjoyer of card games, I played a lot of trading card games. Fire Emblem Cypher has ups and downs. Let's talk about a basis of trading card game. The first big trading card game was, of course, Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering is going strong to this day, but they've sort of flanderized themselves with the Universes Beyond stuff, and the power creep has gotten kind of crazy. Hasbro keeps making them put out a ton of sets every year, and there's a ton of Universes Beyond stuff, and I think that it's kind of starting to get crushed under its own weight. However, one of the things that pretty much every single future card game has accepted from Magic is that there's a resource system in Magic where you have lands and cards that do stuff. You need to play lands to play cards that do stuff. However, because there's your starting hand is random and the lands are part of your main deck, you might end up getting too many lands or too few lands and either not be able to play anything or also not be able to play anything and just rely on your top deck. That's always been kind of a feel bad in Magic Gathering. Magic is to the point where they're sort of too far in to be able to properly fix it. So they just print better lands and cards that can kind of double as lands. Magic is in a position where they can't really do anything except band-aid solutions, but Magic is also prioritizing casual formats a lot more these days, so it's not really that big of a deal because if you're playing with your friends, they'll let you mulligan until you get enough lands. But to me, the most interesting thing about other card games is how do they tackle the concept of a resource system? The one trading card game that legitimately does not have a resource system is Yu-Gi-Oh! And that, combined with the fact that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has an eternal format where they don't rotate as time goes on, ends up making Yu-Gi-Oh! Extremely power creepy, and it's gotten it's also starting to get crushed over its own weight. I think, to be perfectly honest, this is a little bit pessimistic, but I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going to be dead in the next 15 years. I think it's just going to crumble under its own weight. I play Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot. I think there's going to be some good formats in that time, but I don't think that it's going to be. I don't think that it's trending upwards, it's trending downwards. A lot of more recent card games, like the One Piece trading card game, Digimon, what the fuck else, Lorcana, they have interesting new concepts for mana systems. And I think that Cypher has a really good mana system. Basically, the way that it works is every single card in your hand can either function as the card itself or function as a land. So there is an opportunity cost to using your card as a land, but you never, ever, 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 ever have 0 lands in your hand. And I think that's really smart. Cypher is also one of the games that does like what Pokemon does, where it's got prize cards. So you start with 5 orbs, and every time your character gets hit, you lose an orb. One Piece also does this, and you draw a card, so it gives you a little bit of a comeback factor. Really smart mechanic. Every deck is based on a main character, and your main character always starts on board, and your goal is to keep your main character alive. Really smart mechanic. However, the way that you play the game is that you declare combat on opposing characters, and that's way too loud. Give me a second. The way the combat works is, let's say I have a 50 attack character and your main character is 50 attack and I can attack you. So I go, my 50 attack character attacks your 50 attack main character. In the case of a tie, the attacker gets the benefit. So you would normally be able to deal an orb. But the way the combat works is both players mill the top card of their deck and they see what's on top. And every character has a power and also a support value. And so let's say I hit, it can either be 0, 10, 20, or 30. So let's say I hit a 20, you hit a 20. We both go up to 70. It trades even. However, if I hit another character with the same name, so if I'm attacking with Roy and I hit a Roy off the top, it counts as a 0 and my attack fails. Likely fails unless you also self. this off-the-top gameplay really results in the best decks in Cypher being really powerful control strategies that lock down the board until the point where combat is a foregone conclusion and they just overwhelm you with card advantage. I think that it really... The milling the top shit is just not good, gang. Like, I really don't think it's good. I think it's bad. There's a thriving Cypher community, and if you like hard control gameplay, you probably will have a decent time with Cypher, but you know, play it at your own risk. Let me see something. Folks, I got 24 viewers in here and I only have 15 likes. Come on, hit the like button a little bit. You know, for the culture, you know. Jiggle a little bit. Anyways, I've not played the other Fire Emblem trading card game. I don't know anything about it. So let's just move on from that. Next up is Fire Emblem Echoes. That reminds me of Grand Archive. Will remind me to never fucking play that game, because I really hate the resource system in not the resource system, the combat system in this game. Let's talk about Fire Emblem Echoes. I've said this joke many times before. Fire Emblem Echoes is the best Fire Emblem game in the world until you have to actually play the video game. Everything about this game except the actual video game Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia is great. And the story is a little bit sexist as well. You have to accept that. I'm sorry, we're not having a discourse on whether Fire Emblem Echoes is sexist or not. It is sexist. You have to own that and just move on, okay? I want to like Echoes, but at the end of the day, it is unlike FE8, which just uses the basic concepts of Gaiden and like tries to evolve them to a new degree. Echoes is like really tied down to its past for better and mostly for worse. The accuracy is dog shit in most combats. There's a shit ton of there's a shit ton of enemies on some maps, and they're like super spread out. The map design fucking sucks. It's just like a big ass open fields for the most part. The terrain is way too powerful. The enemies can sometimes be like totally impenetrable, except for with magic, and getting your magic users up there sucks because they have super low movement. Terrain costs are super high in like later parts of the game, especially on Celica route. I just don't think it handles itself well. I just don't think it's good. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I think it's bad. I don't think it's really bad. I think there's a vision here, and the game like looks nice, and the UI is pretty decent. I think it's bad, gang. I just think it's bad. Let's talk about Three Houses. Fire Emblem Three Houses is an interesting game. It's difficult to talk about Fire Emblem Three Houses without talking about how popular it is relative to the rest of Fire Emblem. At this point, so much of Fire Emblem's notoriety is like... people are going to say Fire Emblem Fates and Awakening made us a household name. That's not true. Fire Emblem Fates and Awakening made it so that Fire Emblem was set. Like, the series wasn't getting canceled. Fire Emblem Three Houses was what brought us to, like, top billing status on Nintendo's list. Like, our games now routinely do better than Metroid games. That was just, that was unthinkable back when Awakening and Fates came out. Why are you so fearful of seeing anything other than 100 in hit rate? I'm not fearful of seeing anything other than 100 in hit rate. It's just that when every hit rate is 32, I start to get kind of fucking bored of it. It's not a matter of, again, it's not a matter of difficulty, it's a matter of tedium. It just ends up taking more fucking time, and I don't want to take more time because every single turn you have to watch all of your units take a little bit of damage from the fucking terrain, or walk slowly through the desert, or, you know, watch 17 enemies attack you, and then, like, walk forward 2 tiles, see a combat where both players miss, and just move on. Like, it's not good. Okay, moving on to Three Houses. I think Three Houses is... Again, I think Three Houses is in the same position as Heroes, where it's, like, somehow both overrated and underrated. There's a lot of people on here that will, like, dick ride Three Houses till the fucking cows come home. I do think that this is honestly, like, don't shoot the messenger. I do think that this game has an actually like interesting narrative. The idea, no Fire Emblem game is able to actually make it past. Here's a cool idea that has some issues with execution. The idea with Three Houses is that you write a narrative that's multifaceted, and you sort of see each person's perspective in their segment of the narrative. On Edelgard's route, you get to see where she's coming from. You get to see why she hates the church so much, what all the shit the church has done. On Dimitri's route, you get to see the tragedies of... There's a lot more of a focus on the tragedy of Dusker and how it affected his personal life and his friend group, and the character writing is important there. And Edelgard, you know, like, you get to see how Edelgard is kind of... like, is willing to go a bit too far to do what she wants to do, and she's kind of consumed by her desire. On Claude's route, you get to see how both of these guys are kind of missing the forest for the trees, and, like, have lost a little bit of their humanity on the road to creating a unified Fodlan to just force their ideals onto the world. I think it's an interesting concept. Unfortunately, the game kind of sucks at, like... the game kind of sucks at doing it, because... I am willing to accept my bias towards this game. I know that I'm not stupid. I am stupid, I'm not that stupid. The first route I played was Blue Lions. I know that I'm biased in favor of Blue Lions as a result. The way that the game is written, you get really, really, really attached to your house. You start to build an identity towards it. And this sort of identity building was encouraged by Three Houses. I think at the end of the day, the vision of it being like a multifaceted narrative is lost when the game is very clearly designed for you to play through it once, and also you're supposed to... like, the fact that you're supposed to play through it once and it's designed in a way that it makes it inconvenient to play through it more than once, and the fact that you're supposed to see all people's sides of the narrative, it doesn't mesh well together. That's the issue with Three Houses. That's the main issue with Three Houses. I think Three Houses is mostly a story-focused gameplay, so I think I'm going to spend a bit more time on talking about the story as opposed to the gameplay here. Let's talk about the routes in general. I think Three Houses is... the production value of Three Houses is fucking absurd. To this day, I've never seen a game that has as much voiced content as in Three Houses. Like, 80% of the game is voice acted, which is fucking outrageous. Like, I have never seen anything voice acted that much. I think the, some of Byleth's, voice lines in the menus are not voice acted. That's, like, the only thing I can think of that isn't voice acted. The game is interesting. It has good game feel on a first playthrough. Like, I'm not gonna act like... the day one of Fire Emblem Three Houses, when I played the game, I was going to play Black Eagles, but then I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm going Blue Lions. Because I saw the Blue Lions cast, and I was like, I think I like these guys more, and I don't regret that decision any bit, for what it's worth. And I played through the game, I got to, like, saw, like, Lonato, and Sylvain, and Miklon, and all that shit, and I was like, oh my god, this game is fucking crazy, dude. What the hell? And then Edelgard declares war on the church, and I'm like, Edelgard's the Flame Emperor? And then you hear Chris Hackney go, is this some kind of twisted joke? And then he goes fucking insane, and you're like, and you go into the time skip, and Dimitri's like this downtrodden beast of a man who's totally antisocial, and you just have to work with it for a while. He's like a figurehead for your army before he remembers how to be a fucking person. And then I went back and I played Golden Deer, and I was like, oh, Act 1 is exactly the same for all three routes? Like, the first time I got gaslit into thinking that, like, everything in Act 1 was designed for the Blue Lions cast, because to some degree, it kind of is. Like, Lonato is Ash's adoptive father, so it hits closer to home. Miklon is Sylvain's brother, it hits closer to home. Like, Gilbert is Annette's dad, Yuritsa is the Death Knight, and also Mercedes' brother. And that's important and kind of hits all, like, Edelgard and Dimitri's narrative is, like, much more personal than, like, Edelgard's connection with Claude. And that, like, hits more personally. and then you come back on the future run and you go, oh, this Act 1's all the same. I do think that the Act 1 does a fairly good job of representing the fact that the church is kind of fucked up. Like, the church is not, like, Rhea is not a good person, full stop. Like, she's very clearly a tyrant, and, I do think that that kind of subtext is missed because, I hate to say it, but I don't think Fire Emblem players are good at reading. Like, I think Fire Emblem players are not used to having narratives that sort of challenge their viewpoint. Like, it's like, I don't know, it's a skill that you have to develop for sure, but whatever. I think that Blue Lion's Act 1 is the most interesting Act 1 by far. Like, oh my god, it feels super well designed. Act 2 is also fairly good, but I think the Dimitri character arc is done and over a little bit too quickly. And there's some, like, plot convenience towards the third act. Like, what's-his-face, Arendelle just dying, and so we don't have to interface with those who slither in the dark at all. Golden Deer is the hype moments and aura, it's the hype moments and aura route. Because, you have to admit, it is kind of less interesting on a personal level than the other routes, but when you go into the fucking underground lair and they start playing fucking this song, you have to admit that goes fucking crazy. Like, that's aura. Like, that's a very feels the aura moment. Like, I think that, and then also, you beat this, and then you go outside, and then some asshole starts going, Raya Svarto Foldra, and then you're like, oh wait, hold up, this is a pretty cool end game we got here, and I think it goes you have to admit, it's very auraful, for better or for worse. The rest of the route is kind of meh, like, breaking open the throat of Fodlan is, like, an interesting plot point, but it's not really that interesting. The whole, like, Nardell and Adair stuff is like, oh, whatever. Crimson Flower really gets the short end of the stick. There's, like, no cutscenes in it. None of that shit's super short. You don't even do Battle of the Eagle and Lion, Salty Run Back Edition. You don't do, what's it called? The hunting, what is it, Hunting by Daybreak or whatever. Like, it gets the short end of the stick for sure. And I think part of the issues with Three Houses was that, like, development time was too short. I think that on broad strokes, Fire Emblem Three Houses definitely did what it was trying to do. And part of that is why I'm excited for Fortune's Weave, because if the team that worked on Three Houses is the same team that's working on Fortune's Weave, that means they've had 7 fucking years to make this game. So hopefully, none of this shit feels rushed the same way that Three Houses felt rushed. Three Houses has a has a fond location in my heart, because I have good memories of that. I mean, Sylvain and Felix, that's like one of my OTPs. I love those fucking goobers. I like the Blue Lions cast. There's a lot of characters that I don't like Bernadetta, but, you know, that's for another day. I would say middle range to little bad. I'd probably... I'll put it in the middle range. In fact, let's downgrade FE4 here. Warriors 3 Hopes. Now, this is like if you took the feels the aura argument for Golden Deer and you just extended it to an entire game. The plot really gets fumbled in the third acts of every single one of these routes, but god damn if the OST doesn't fucking rule. The OST in this game is ridiculously good because it's got all the good tracks from Three Houses, it remixes them all, and it's got its own music, so there's like a new song every single chapter. It fucking owns. I will say the main game campaign is like a little bit too long. I had good early memories of the game, but it became way too argumentative to yap about the game normally. Yeah, a big thing about Three Houses is that, like, the well has really been poisoned. Like, everybody on the internet, this is both sides, but I see what's fed to me is the louder ones, and the louder ones are the Edelgard fans because they feel the need to defend themselves more, which is fair because she's the antagonist of most of the game, so I understand why you want to defend her, but it doesn't make you any less annoying. Anybody that, like, actually assigns importance to who their favorite one of the lords is a fucking loser. Or rather, anybody that, like, you know, grandstands about it is kind of a loser. Like, we have to be honest about that. I don't think that anybody that's like, yeah, Edelgard is actually like the good person in Fodlan, and if you don't understand that, you actually don't understand narratives as a whole. None of them have anything good to provide to society, and they are weak and will be culled in the winter. The well is so poisoned when it comes to three houses. That's why there's the meme, like the three houses, the meme that's like the illusion of free choice, and both sides lead to three houses discourse. It spread to other fandoms because three houses got so big. Like, people need to be normal about three houses. Oh my god, that's what we need. We need people to be fucking normal about three houses. None of you, anybody that's like Edelgard is an icky villain that sides with the bad guys, none of you fuckers would survive an actually good visual novel. All of the Edelgard lesbians that are like, Edelgard is a epic girl boss would also not survive those VNs because they end up being like progressive with like chuddy narrative. Like basically nobody that cares enough about three houses would actually survive a work of good art like Muramasa, and that's why I don't have any respect for them. Moving on to Three Hopes. Three Hopes is the exact opposite, where the game kind of sucks, but every single person that's like a Three Hopes fan is like the nicest person you will ever meet. I crashed out when I saw that meme in a Master Duel meme review. Dude, it was actually like my worlds were curdle-lighting. I saw Danny and Peeps looking at that shit and I was like, oh my god, there's just no way. Nintendo did actually encourage it though. Yeah, they did do like a lot of like house warfare, like class warfare, funnily enough. I think it's a good way to describe it. It ended up blowing up in their, well, it didn't end up blowing up in their face. It ended up blowing up in the community's face because what they got out of it was a ridiculous amount of good press and the game sold like hotcakes. What we got out of it was an extremely insular community that is totally unwilling to see other people as human. Every single complaint about Edelgard is like couched in some fuck-ass, borderline misogynist rhetoric, and every single complaint about like people that don't like Edelgard is like, this is why I can't stand men. They can't handle a woman that actually does something with her life. It's like, no, dude, both of you are fucking subhuman. Jesus Christ, just treat each other like normal humans. Rhea I like because she's a very flawed person. Rhea I like because she's got a fat ass, baby. Awooka! Boom! That's what I was so mad when I got to the end of Three Houses and I realized I couldn't fuck Rhea because you could only do that in Silver Snow. I was so fucking mad. I literally, my third run was Silver Snow. I went back for Silver Snow just so I could fuck Rhea. Three Hopes is like the exact opposite. We're like, I can't see a game where like all the Three Houses fans were like, oh, the plot's bad, I don't give a fuck, and they moved on. And all the people that are remaining in the Three Hopes fandom just shez post, and it's so fucking fun. Like, it's the exact opposite, where the game sucks, but the people are awesome. Every single Three Hopes fan, you are everything that is right with this community. Please keep being yourself. That being said, the game is not good. Like, I'm sorry that your game is not good. You can fuck her mom in your head, though. I'm not picking the lolly romance. Presses. I'm not picking fucking Sothis. She's got a Vegeta hairline. I'm sorry, that's just not happening. Okay, speaking of games where the narrative has been totally poisoned, let's talk about Fire Emblem Engage. Do most Three Hopes fans actually played all the routes? No, I played one route and I was like, this is not for me, because I realized that playing through another route would take like another 30 hours of Muso gameplay, and I was not willing to live with that. Let's talk about Engage. Oh, also, the maddening mode in Three Houses fucking sucks. The ambush spawns, like, are designed to mill you out of, Divine Pulse uses, which I don't like. You end up, the meta is super over-centralized, and, like, every unit needs to have HP plus, hit plus 20 equipped, or else they're dog shit and they can't get any accuracy. You know, I'm putting this in a little bad. Sothis is hotter now in Fortune's Weave? True. If you aren't gonna play past the controller, when it comes to Sothis, dog, you can have it. I don't want that controller, man. I don't want that on my name. I played all 3 routes. It was a fun time, even if I did have to turn my brain off during a lot of the story segments. Like, okay, yeah, again, 3 Hopes is like super aura focused. Like that scene where Dimitri walks up and just tanks a dark magic orb and while he's walking forward, that's fucking badass. That being said, the story is not good. I think it tries a bit too hard to reach like a compromise at the end, and I don't like it. I think part of what makes Three Houses compelling is that the characters are diametrically opposed. Edelgard and Dimitri cannot both be alive at the end of Three Houses. No matter what. No matter what. At least one of them has to die, sometimes both of them. And I think that that's kind of cool. But I digress. I think Three Houses would have been a lot better if you encouraged people to play the other routes some way by like making it you able to go to the other routes. Because I think that you need to... this sounds crazy to say, but I think you need to force people to experience some suffering. Like, you need to see people watch their favorite Scrimblow die. I want every single Blue Lions fan to have to read that scene where Dimitri's ghost shows up to you in Silver Snow and talks to you about how he doesn't regret being a hateful avenger for his pathetic life. And I want them to shed a little bit of a tear at that. I want them to I want them to see firsthand how fucked up war is, man. Like, I think that that's so interesting. Engage is a Saturday morning cartoon from our childhood. That is not true. I'm sorry. The third act of Engage with like the Zero Emblem time travel bullshit, that is way too convoluted, and it genuinely, I think that the Engage story might be a little bit worse than Fate's, but let's not talk about that. Let's talk about Engage by itself. Okay. I think it is so fucking funny that Engage released as a game with decent gameplay but a terrible story right around the time that we in the Fates community managed to make a Hello? I don't know what the hell that was. Everything just like cut out for a second. Oh my god, that was terrifying. Right after we in the Fates community managed to carve out a niche for ourselves as the people that are like, it's okay if a Fire Emblem game doesn't have a great story, it's about you wanting to play it. Then another game that doesn't have a great story, it's about you wanting to play it, comes out. And they face like 1/20th of the blowback that Fates faced in its time, and they act like the most oppressed people in history. I'm sorry, you will not get me to empathize with Engage fans. You guys don't know what it was like in the trenches. I'm sorry, the Fates fans have fought for your right to party, and you need to accept that. Like, let's be real here. Like, it wasn't... It was... Also, I hate to say it, I don't think Engage delivers... I think Engage is a bit too dopamine-focused. I think the moment-to-moment gameplay is a bit too focused on, like, being cool in a way that's... Being cool... Like, for example, Radiant Dawn is a game that's cool, so the gameplay kind of suffers a bit. But that's a game where the coolness is used to make like a gameplay plot coherence, to create a plot that's at least like a 7 out of 10. There's no 7 out of 10 plot in Engage. The Engage like rips off the worst parts of Fates' plot. Like Mikoto dying already sucked in Fates, but they didn't do it even worse in Engage. I think the fact is, Engage really misses the forest for the trees in a lot of aspects. The music is good, the game looks good, playing the game itself kind of sucks. There's a lot of convenience that this game is really lacking. The inventory management UI in Engage is something that I constantly harp about, but it does matter. Like, the game fucking sucks to play because every time I don't like playing Engage again, because every time I try to play Engage, I'm reminded of how much time I have to spend on preps because just how sluggish the UI is of, how sluggish the UI is and how I'm gonna have to, like, managing forges is a fucking pain. And 1.0 Engage was even worse. Oh my god, when I played that game on launch, I actually, like, genuinely started to hate the ring room in the arena because of how annoying they were to deal with. I don't even like Engage, I just know it's story shit. It's just every conversation about it is story bad. That's another thing, right? Like, because Engage came out after Three Houses and did worse than Three Houses, which is kind of unfair of a standard to hold it up to, because Three Houses was like... I think even after Fortune's... If Fortune's Weave managed to replicate the magic that Three Houses was able to pull off and be even more popular, then maybe Engage just is on fraud watch. However, I think that in the greater Fire Emblem timeline, Three Houses is just going to end up being an outlier, where the Switch had a ton of motion, and here comes Three Houses. It's got a ton of great marketing around it, and the game comes out, and it's good enough that people really, really like it and attach themselves to it, and it allows for a lot of Fujoshi discourse around it, so it maintains popularity. I just think that Engage kind of suffers the brunt of that, but it still suffers less than Fates did, so I don't have that much empathy for them. I just think that, like, playing the game itself is really tedious. Like, the Somnial is not as frustrating to do as the Monastery segments in Three Houses, but it is still by far way more annoying to do than the My Castle segments in Fates, for instance. And anybody that says that you can just skip the Somnial is just lying to you. I feel like anybody, like, obviously you can skip the Somnial. Like, you can, I don't know, you can never jerk off for your whole life. But I fucking doubt any of you assholes is not jerking off ever. I know you fuckers touch yourself is what I'm getting at. And that means that I know you guys also do the Somnial. Nobody's skipping the goddamn Somnial. Be real for a second. You don't have to do the meal every single time. You don't have to pick up all the missing items every single time. You do kind of have to go to the arena and the ring room a lot of times. The free reclassing in a game like this kind of ends up hurting it because the meta is super over-centralized. This game does a lot better on enemy scaling than Three Houses does, except Armor Knights are still scaled a little bit shittily. The class variety ends up going to shit because physical classes kind of suck ass, except for, like, when you're able to make them work, and, like, Warrior's pretty good, and, like, Wyvern is good for Kagetsu. And then other than that, it's just a bunch of mages, like, clearing the map. Staves are powerful, which is fine. But then, again, my biggest problem with Engage is that the rings are very powerful, but they also make every single unit that uses the ring feel the same. What I mean by this is Ike on Tamara versus Ike on Diamant versus Ike on Amber. There's not much of a difference there. They are going to just feel like the same unit. Any unit that has Ike equipped is going to feel like my Ike unit. They're not going to feel like, oh, this is Etier and she has Ike equipped. No, it's going to feel like this is, I don't care who the unit is, she just has Ike equipped, so they're unkillable. That's the big problem that I have with Engage, that it makes the cast, it's already kind of homogenous, feel even more so because the rings are so over-centralizing. Also, this game has the FE7 issue of deployments in the mid-game being kind of a shit show, and also you getting really busted pre-promotes, so you end up edging out your earlier recruited fun units that you like genuinely in favor of more powerful pre-promotes because you just kind of have to, and that's a feels bad always. I just think that it kind of, it screws itself over in too many places for me to truly enjoy it. The map design genuinely is, like, probably up there with Conquest. It's still like a solid, it's still like a, what's it called? Standard deviation below Conquest, but goddamn is the map design in this game good. It's very tight, it works very well, each map has a concept that it's trying to accomplish. Regardless of whether the concept is good or not, you can see the vision, and I think that's really important for me as a Fire Emblem player, is that you can see the vision with a map. I think a big part of the homogeneity problem is that the stat caps are tied to classes, not individual unit. Three Houses has a homogeneity problem too, but it's not as bad because units have unique stat caps. Also, Three Houses doesn't have a homogeneity problem because units get, like, personal shit that's, like, important. Like, for example, whether a unit is male or female changes whether they have access to, like, Grappler, which is a good endgame class. It changes whether they have access to Fighter and Hero and whatnot, which changes your access to Vantage Wrath strats, depending on what a female unit has access to, or it also gives them access to potentially Darting Blow for a better early game. In addition to that, or, like, Flyer access for a better early game in that sense as well. Units also have their own personal skills, like, for example, Ignatz having, I'm not talking about just their personal skills, like Ignatz having hit plus 20 also makes them, like, different, but also I'm talking about stuff like Dimitri having access to Battalion Vantage and Battalion Wrath, which is something that no other unit has access to innately. Stuff like Swift Strike's access for Seth, Sylvain, and Ferdinand. Stuff like that is cool. It's interesting. All the personal feelings in Three Houses are superfluous. They're literally not, though. Like, literally, the fact that Leone has access to Hunter's Volley, or... No, the fact that Leone has access to Point Blank Volley means that you play Leone totally different from how you would play somebody like Shamir. There's so many units that feel exactly the same, not even as close as an Engage. Every single unit in Engage feels the same, except for, like, Ivy, Kagetsu, Marin, Pandreo, Seedle. I was gonna say Corrin, Alir. I think that's about it. Like, I can't think of that. Oh, Hortensia as well. Also, there's no, like, unique spell list as well. That's something somebody pointed out in chat as well. Yeah, there's no unique spell list in this game, so everybody just learns the same shit. I don't know, this game has a lot of good ideas. Like, the Surge Tome, please bring the Surge Tome back. That idea fucking rules. Bring that shit back. True damage being implemented in mainline. This game implements a lot of stuff from Heroes in mainline that I feel like should have been implemented. Please do more of that. I like that. Cooldown stuff, it's good. For the love of God, if you're gonna make a game that has bad story and good gameplay, make the gameplay actually good. And also make it so you can actually play the fucking video game in a reasonable amount of time. The loading screens of this game are beastly, dude. Like, I don't like it. Do I think it's better than Three Houses? I think it's about the same as Three Houses for, like, totally different reasons. Okay, let's talk about Fire Emblem Shadows. For those who don't know, this is a mobile game that came out, like, this year. It's about this main character, like, being tempted by the darkness, question mark, except not really, except yes really, except not really. And every single map plays like a map where you and two other people have to beat some enemies, and then at the end of the map, you have to figure out which one of you was actually secretly trying to sabotage. Unfortunately, this gameplay loop doesn't really work. It's like trying to be like Among Us Core, but like it doesn't really work. It's just like super short, and it's often fairly obvious, but I digress. The one thing that's really funny about this is that this is our first canon lesbian lord. Or transgender lord. It's either lesbian or transgender, so we got something here. The main character, Kurt, is disguised as a guy and is a woman. I didn't play too much of it because I kind of uninstalled it, but also has a wife, or like a fiance that's going to be their wife. So it's either a transgender man with a wife, or a lesbian girl with a wife, which is pretty badass. That being said, the game fucking sucks. Combat arts are superfluous because they do the same. They're just player face nukes. Not really. Depending on the, like, you can't access, you need to prep for combat arts differently. Like, Swift Strikes give you less accuracy than the bow combat art, so you need to be prepared for that. Hunter's Volley is more versatile because you can use it at range. And, it comes, like, part and parcel with different classes as well. Hunter's Volley is only accessible in Sniper, so you need to place, any unit that's using Hunter's Volley as their endgame class line is going to be playing differently. Also, like, the early game feels, like, super different because you have, like, early shit like that, but whatever. I don't like the spell list, but hopefully in Fortune's Weave it's better. Listen, this game has the potential to be, like, the best Fire Emblem game, no holds barred, if they manage it correctly. Because, legitimately, the second they revealed that it's just one... You can do everything in this game in one playthrough, I was like, oh, hold up. That's kind of a game changer, because... A lot of the problems in Three Houses was the fact that replaying the game felt like shit because there was a lot of reused maps, a lot of reused chapters. But if you're playing through the game once, the reused maps, reused chapter shit does not really factor in that much. And so, like, the map design can be tight and also be more interesting. I think that this game has a lot of chance. Also, from, like, a JRPG perspective, I think this game is, like, going to be historically relevant because there's so many, like, black and otherwise people of POC protagonists and playable characters in this game. I think that it beats the shit out of every Fire Emblem game and I think every other JRPG. like the color of this cast is so diverse that I'm shocked that they came up with it in Japan, and that's a very like racially motivated thing of me to say, but I accept that. I accept that it's a little bit ridiculous, but also like it comes from a place of knowing the genre. All right, let's do some Gaussification here, folks. I also haven't like fully probably good. Is Conquest better than Radiant Dawn? Yeah. Is Radiant Dawn better than Thracia? Yes. Is Thracia better than Revelation? Yes. Is Revelation better than FE12? Yes. Is FE12 better than Awakening? No. Is FE12 better than FE9? I think so. Yeah. Is FE9 better than Turing Saga? Yes. If FE better than Turing Saga, is FE3 better than Turing Saga? No. Is FE3 better than Heroes? Is Heroes better than FE7? I think we move FE7 up. Is Engage better than Heroes? Let's do it like this. Is Three Houses better than FE4? These, as far as I'm concerned, these two are the same game. Are these? No. Is Echoes better than? I think it stays in this tier though. Is Cypher better than BSFE? I think BSFE goes down a little bit. Warriors and FE11. I'm taking FE11 down here. Birthright and Gaiden. I think we do this. I think we also do this. And then we just start like Gaussifying it. So we go like this. You know, it's just a nice normal distribution. This is what we want in our tier list. Let me just make sure I actually agree with this. Little bad. Echoes isn't little bad. That's probably the only thing that I disagree with. It probably should be worse. But I think in terms of like Gaussian distribution, this is correct. I really hope it's at least good. I hope it's good too. Because if it's good, I think that's going to be like a win for the RPG genre as a whole. But, you know, I guess we will see. Anyways, and if you guys want to find out whether this game is good with me, join me on September 17th for an 8-hour-long Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave stream that I will be doing. I will be playing the game in Japanese and trying to figure out the plot by picking up context clues. It should be a good time. I'm definitely going to be doing a giveaway of the game because I bought the definitive edition, but that's going to take a while to come in, so I'm going to buy a physical copy of the game as well, and then give away the physical copy of the game that I don't get in the definitive edition. So join the stream, I'll do a giveaway there. Why is Shadows and God Awful? I just don't think it's good. I just think the gameplay loop doesn't feel like Fire Emblem. It just feels extremely messy. I just don't like it. Where's TMS? I haven't played TMS. Yeah, you know what we're talking about. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. 3.5 hours, eh? A lot of y'all watched for a long time. Thank you so much. I will see you guys next week, where we do more Fire Emblem Fates in preparation for Fortune's Week. Thank you. Bye-bye.